1 2 1 2. I go by the name of DJ What, and you're now listening to the original Jeek Podcast. Let's go.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
Fresh.
Making me itch.
What up, Jeeks? I am the original Jeek, and my name is Rockin' Mr. Magic, and this is the original Jeek Podcast. Thank you all for continuing to listen. I hope you enjoyed our last episode with guest Dustin Poindexter, where we had a great conversation around the MCU, gymnastics, and Thor, Love, and Thunder. If you haven't given that show a listen, please do. Please like and rate the show on your podcasting app of choice. Today, we have another guest. And I've been trying to get this brother on this show for a hot minute. And we finally found a time, which I was unfortunately late for, and I will take the heat for that. But finally got this brother on the show. So I want to welcome my guest, my man, Jewel Spears. Jewel, welcome.
What's good? What's good? Go Blue.
Go Blue. That's right. We are 1-2-0. Against that intro week competition, but we gonna keep making it happen.
We got a long preseason. We deserve it after a Big Ten championship and a playoff game. So
absolutely. And we've got it set who the quarterback's gonna be. It's gonna be J.J. McCarthy. We know who it's set.
upside. The upside.
Yes, we going with the upside.
Oof.
So I hate to question Jim right now because of all the experience on the other option. He's been there. He played the big games. JJ really didn't, but he is the one, with the upside, with that talent. He's a true sophomore. Like, there's a lot there.
Cade did a very good job in being carried along into the big games. What he did in the big games, if you take a good look at, he didn't screw up the Ohio State game.
Right.
But, I mean, this isn't tonight's topic, but
he was a game manager. He was a game manager.
He was a
His
game
job
man.
was to manage the game.
He was a game man. But if you want to do big things in today's world of college as well as pro football, you need that quarterback.
No, you absolutely right. And honestly, if Cade was a bigger game player, we wouldn't have lost the Michigan State game.
Correct.
And
if they would have called that fumble the right way in the end zone, we would have lost the Michigan State game.
I had to hear it from my mother because she's a Spartan on that thing. Yeah. And of course, that's the only L we took that year. Like,
but we'll see them again. They're going to get theirs this year.
Oh yeah, we got them this year. As much as I love Coach Mel,
I appreciate what the brother's doing in London.
I'm glad he got his paper.
Absolutely, and he got that long-term paper.
Sure enough.
If they let him go, you're gonna pay for this.
You paying for that? Absolutely. $65 million over 10 years. He got that paper.
I am not mad. I'm not mad at him. I'll hate him in about 3 or 4 weeks, but for now, you do your thing.
That's right.
Keep getting your wins, bump your ranking up, so when we take you out,
that's sweet. Exactly it.
Let's go.
I want them to win every game until they play us.
Every game.
Yes, every game until they play us. Oh, there we go. Take my pill. That's my daughter's insulin alarm. All right. So we're going to get it cracking here because, again, I was late. So to start the show off, I want to give, since we're talking college football, I want to say a congratulations to Mickey Joseph, the first black head coach in all of University of Nebraska's school history. He was named interim coach after they fired their current coach, who had posted a 16-31 record. How do you feel Mickey Joseph's chance are, real quick?
he's going to have a honeymoon period because Scott Frost was just that bad.
True.
Given who he is and who Scott Frost was and what he meant to that program, it will not be a long honeymoon period. But I just think as a head coach, as far as game management, game execution, adjustments, he could not possibly be worse than Scott Frost. You wouldn't be worse than Scott Frost. Scott Frost was trash.
Yes.
Now, not being a fan of the University of Nebraska before they joined the Big Ten, I was never a fan of Warden Tom Osborne and his outlaw program at all.
Same here.
I appreciated when, the other love of my college football life, it was almost a rite of passage come bowl time where they would lose to Florida State.
Right.
But then when he boosted that program and started recruiting better and got that speed, they were a monster. The 95 Nebraska Cornhuskers is on my short list of greatest college football teams I've ever seen.
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean that I have to exactly like them and the type of program that he ran. You can check the criminal records of his players
right.
And after they left Omaha, what that was all about. So when Nebraska joined the Big Ten, it was supposed to bring a
level of eliteness to the to the conference.
And they never did. And quite frankly, they might never. It's not a guarantee that they're ever seen today's day and age with expansion as well as just that huge talent pool and all these programs and now know what they're doing and have the resources to do it. It's not a guarantee that, this is the year Nebraska's back.
No.
I don't know.
And honestly, when we added them to the Big Ten, I said, why? We're 20 years too late.
Yeah.
Because ain't nobody talking about the Cornhuskers.
And nobody's going to Omaha anymore.
Yeah, and brothers ain't so desperate to get out the hood to get a chance to play ball to go to Nebraska no more. Because other programs...
You can get that NIL money from all over the country.
Exactly. Even before NIL, though. We had the uprising of programs that were like Oregon, for example, replaces in Nebraska because you'd rather go to Eugene, be close to Washington State, than go to the middle of nowhere in Omaha.
You want to play for that Phil Knight brand.
Exactly, and you're right next to Nike. It's like, why would you not go there?
Why would you go to Nebraska over Oregon?
Exactly.
Why would you go to Nebraska at this point over an Oklahoma State or a Baylor?
Yes, exactly. And Baylor having a good football program, another school, another basketball school that's all of a sudden in the football ranks. It's like, I can go here. Or even North Carolina started being decent. It's like, I'll go to North Carolina.
Exactly.
Why would I go to Nebraska? I don't think Nebraska's ever going to regain prominence. Personally, I think
the last quarterback who was a first-round draft pick from Nebraska. Baylor gave you Robert Griffith the third. North Carolina just gave you kid who just was there last year.
What's his name?
Sam something. I forget his name, but he was high prospect. I think end of the first round, high second round. Yep. Nebraska doesn't give you that. And that's all you care about.
Who's the last great Nebraska player? Frazier?
And
Frazier, probably.
And Dominican Sue.
Okay. No, yeah, I forget. That's right. Sue.
We should have won the Heisman in 2009. They gave it to Mark.
Sue should have won the Heisman. Yeah. But
hold up. We need to come. We need. Things start small and then they grow big. And our man put it out there. Give the Heisman to the offensive player. And give the Woodson to the defensive
player. Yeah, they should. They really should.
They really should.
Because you've had so many players get robbed over the years. I mean, even Orlando Pace got robbed.
Yes.
Granted, if they win the Michigan game, he probably does win the Heisman. But
they're not.
He was still the best player in college football.
He was the best player, but Danny Warfel had a dope enough year that year where he was the quarterback. Right. Good Christian boy. Mm-hmm. To his credit, not knocking him. He sliced and diced Florida State in the national championship.
Sure
but
did.
He had seasons before that, and he had that dope season where he was going to win. they weren't going to give it to Pace over, but Orlando Pace was the best player in college football that
Hands down.
season.
Yeah.
Not close, and somebody's a Hall of Famer today. So,
And somebody named Danny Warfel is not.
it's not.
I mean, but Pace really, I mean, he really should have went to that huddle and said, "I'm the best player in the country. Run the ball behind me and let's win this Michigan game." And they didn't do it.
They didn't
Because I
go.
think that step of leadership would have vaulted him over even the people who weren't trying to vote for him.
True.
You know, but yeah, Danny Warfel was nice in college, but once he got to the Saints, he was
Exposed.
Danny regular.
Yup.
All right, next quick one, and I'll keep it quick because I know it's painful for you. But the state of the Los Angeles Lakers is doing it's rough right now. You've got the backlash of winning time, which we should probably talk about at a different time because ain't nobody from the Showtime Lakers happy about winning time. We've got
I enjoyed it for what it was, which was a complete and total parody of the situation. Oh yeah, you got me. I need it. Let me hit this.
Yeah, take a sip. Go ahead.
I'm gonna need something stronger than this in a minute. It was a parody of that time. I didn't learn anything new at all. It very much took creative license with
a whole lot of license. Oh my God. I mean, episode 1, I hit my boy Dante up, who's cousins with Cookie, and I was like, yo, talk to me because this is wild right now. And he's like, yeah, I talked to Irvin recently. He said Irvin's pissed. I said, I'm sure he is.
But Buck is pissed, and you know what this man means to me.
I know he means as much as he means to me being a Michigan native, being a land,
Yes.
My mom was there in '79 when they won it all.
Okay.
She and Buck interacted as athletes. She was on the judo team
at
MSU. Like, yeah, I mean that's our guy.
He is the beginning. He is the genesis of my sports fandom. He is everything to me. I can be fair that when it comes to them taking license and taking his off-court act and routine and his appetites, I really didn't have a problem with that because, damn.
Yeah, we know Irvin was. Yeah, they were actually probably kind of mild on his.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I would sit back and just be like, oh well, I really don't have much to say about this part. There's certain things where look, there are certain people who are responsible directly for who your franchise is, where your franchise is, and I don't care how much you have a falling out. You don't allow certain things to go down. You don't desecrate the name for comic relief or whatever you were trying to do of Jerry West. You don't portray Jerry West as any kind of a clown, anything, because you are not who you are without Jerry West and Elgin Baylor. You are not who you are at all.
At all. Yeah. For him to be this raving lunatic, I was like, I've met Jerry West. And maybe inside he's got some rage, but that's the most collected person I've ever met. I can't even fathom Jerry behaving the way they had him behaving.
Not in public, very much in private. When you talk to sportscasters, and this is stuff that he wrote in his own book. He was a very tortured soul from child abuse, from losing his brother in Korea, and then to this day not being able to see the color green without breaking out into hives and sweats. Like, the man was absolutely a tortured individual. So he had moments where he would be in private moments where he would have that rage, his anger, the outbursts, the fits, the over the top cursing, all
Yeah,
that.
all that.
That
Yeah,
was
that was
crazy.
ridiculous.
That was
Absolutely.
crazy. For them to be falling out, and for this to coincide with the fact that the Bus family did him dirty recently, where he's on the outs with the Lakers, which should never happen, ever. You eat that. I don't care what he said about your organization. I don't care who he works for. No, you eat that. And you just take the high road because that's Jerry West. That's Jerry freaking West.
He's responsible for every ring you have since he was a player.
Talk to him. Who drafted Showtime?
Exactly.
Who
Who made the deal to get Kareem?
Who got Shaq?
Exactly. Who got Shaq and drafted Kobe?
Who drafted Kobe? Who worked him out? Little personal workout with Michael Cooper, and Kobe put work on him.
Yeah, put work
said,
on.
Look, I've seen it was a 10-minute workout. Jerry West said, "I've seen enough. He's better than anybody in our team right now. We can go."
Yeah,
that's him. That's that dude. When Shaq and Kobe were really falling out, it wasn't Phil Jackson who fixed that. It was Jerry West.
That's right.
And he worked both ends and said, "Hey, look, you need to shut the bleep up. You come on, stop." He held that together. And for him, you don't have time for this pettiness with this old individual. You don't know how much time. Do not let Jerry West leave this earth with a feud between him and Adrian Brody portraying Pat Riley.
Brody is right. I mean, he did look like Riles, though. Like,
bruh,
they did a good job of making him look like Riles.
He did, but you had Pat Riley coming out of the hippie commune like deadbeat. Okay. I mean, I know Pat Riley as, hard-nosed, University of Kentucky.
Yeah, hard-nosed Irish boy.
He was a bad boy. He was a ruffian.
Yeah.
And he might have looked a certain way, and he might have went GQ smooth later on, but okay.
Yeah, that GQ thing came with Showtime. That wasn't an original thing.
Oh,
yeah.
So this whole thing that they went with that.
I did like the dude that they got to play Cap, though.
Oh, the brother was smooth.
Yes, he was very smooth.
He had Cap's air.
Yes, he did. He's like a doctor IRL or something like that. Like,
I believe it. Because
he has that vibe.
He carried Cap's intelligence of being above this. He carried his aloofness. He portrayed his awkwardness, which was a lot of his aloofness was about being awkward and not being very comfortable in his own skin at all.
Right.
And just being so, like I always say, Cap, Russell, God rest his soul. These were brothers who were above basketball.
That's right.
National black treasures.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that didn't mean he wasn't an ass when it came to the people and fans and, just people who try to give him that admiration. Like, don't just keep it moving.
Yeah.
Which he learned later on. But the brother, he was probably my favorite portrayal as far as the series was concerned.
Mm-hmm.
For a moment, just one moment, my single most favorite moment in that entire show that made the whole thing, when I put it on the scales, it became a yes for me. Do you remember the way they introduced Larry Bird?
Yes. That was hilarious.
Bruh, I paused my TV and I fell out. Done.
I love it.
Done. You know my name. Yes, I do.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. Man, and again, for what it was a parody, it was comedy, they made Dr. Bus into a damn near a serial rapist.
Oh my God. I was like, what in the world?
Wait.
I mean, especially when he's preying on the nurse. I was like, oh
nurse,
my God.
The nurse put it over the top. even when you saw where it was going, you're just saying the whole time, "Oh no, don't do no,
Yeah,
no,
don't
no,
do this. No.
don't do this." And
I was like, come on, you gonna get them to arrest Dr. Bus in the grave. Like, come on, man.
well, man, it wasn't all that.
Hey, the man got around, but goodness gracious, not
Look,
like this.
the man had some, but okay, they
One thing is interesting. It was very interesting to me because of the paradoxical nature of the show. Is all the star power.
yes,
You had Sally Field up in this.
yes,
You had the Harris brothers show up in this. You had Mike Epps show up.
HBO money.
I was like, yo, everybody's coming through in this thing.
Yeah.
It's like every week, it's like, who's next?
Yeah. Well, the TV, and it's perfect that we're having this conversation tonight about this show, the proliferation of streaming TV and just the influx of dollars and money into TV now. You can do things like this, where it used to be not too many. It wouldn't be 25, 30 years ago where stars, I'm not going to TV. That's a step down. Now, it's where it is.
That's where the money,
have
a lot of money in TV.
Yeah, and when you have Time Warner money, when you have Time Warner or the Mouse, or now even Netflix, hey, let's go. Let's go. You get whoever you want. Get whoever you want, and now it just comes down to the quality. They did what they set out to do. They did well. I find myself saying this a lot. Shouts to Bootleg. What they set out to do, they did well. I just don't necessarily vibe with everything they chose to do, but they did it very well. They made it entertaining. They made you go, oh.
Yeah. They did make me come back and watch next week. I'll give them that.
Oh yeah, and just don't dig too deep into the reality of the situation, because oh man.
Yeah, well, if you want the more reality of the situation, I would recommend you people, listeners, go and watch Legacy, which is on Hulu right now, which is an actual documentary and not a parody show that's maybe an eighth reality. This is actual interviews with the actual Bus children, clips of actual Dr. Bus. Legacy on Hulu, which I think is on episode 4 or 5 now.
It's 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5. It's an actual documentary on the Los Angeles Lakers.
Now I gotta push back on you just a little bit. I agree with you. It's much more factual. However, because it was partially produced by the Buses and very much had their blessing.
Oh, it's very Bus influenced. Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So I'm watching it last night, and they talk about '88. And they're talking about.
Oh, I have to see that one. Oh yeah.
No, it's not worth it.
I didn't see that
because they're talking about '88, and they completely ignored the Phantom Foul. They ain't say a word about it. They skipped over it.
Phantoms are to be ignored. You know.
Clearly, because they completely glossed over that.
They didn't call it.
And then they threw a whole bunch of excuses for '89, and but they did let Isaiah say, he's like, injuries. I didn't hear that last year. I didn't hear that in '88 when I was hurt, so I want to hear about it in '89.
We're gonna do this tonight, huh? I thought we were gonna come on here and have a nice, friendly conversation about.
No, we gonna be friendly. I'm just saying it was very Bus influenced. I mean,
it was. I'm glad I didn't. I had that issue before that because there's a lot of things that went down, and there's a lot of things that they discussed earlier on that were much more. You know, you had real beef, and they touched on the real issues with Magic when he got Westhead fired, and his issues with the team, his issues with whether or not they saw him as a player or management. Right. A lot was very much glossed over with the real issues between him and Norm and how that was going to work. They didn't really touch on the real simmering underline. It never went over the top. But there was always a little friction between Magic and Cap.
Oh yeah,
Magic.
They're nothing alike.
No, nothing alike.
There was going to be friction because of how different they are. Right, that's just natural.
Of course, when you two alphas.
Yeah, two alphas that are completely different sides. Cap is out here being pro-black, being very militant. Being militant. And Magic's just trying to smile and be nice to everybody.
Militant.
Yeah. Well, compared to Magic, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. And Magic's just trying to smile, smile and be, and be on TV and make commercials and everything, be everybody's friend.
Except in Boston.
Except in Boston.
But no, I do want to see my only thing when we talk about 89 is this, and I'll only say this. I'm not saying that we would, I'm going to take it here. Yeah, we would have beat y'all. Yeah, we would have beat y'all.
That's what you're supposed to say.
I'm not saying, because I keeps it, when it comes to ball, I keeps it real. They're not sending me any checks yet. They're not sending me any checks. So I'm going to keep it real. All I'm saying is Riley made that tactical error of not taking the foot off the gas and taking that older team that had been through the wars through that entire decade, and he kept running them in practice, and he ran the legs out of Magic and Byron.
Well, they talk about it.
Okay.
They do address it.
I'm not saying it's an excuse.
I won't spoil it for you.
It's not. I'm just saying it's not a sweep. It is.
Nah. It's 100% not a sweep if Magic and Byron play. 100% not. I think it would have been 6 or 7 games, like in '88.
I say 6 or 7, but it's just not. It's not a sweep.
No, there's no. The sweep is because Byron was hurt. Magic went out in the third of game 2, and that was a wrap. The Lakers were overwhelmed.
It was overwhelmed.
Yeah, but if they play, it's definitely not a sweep.
People forget about that 48 that Big Game gave Rodman and Game.
Oh yeah, no, Big Game played amazing in '89.
No, it real no answer.
We couldn't do anything about him in '89, and we threw Aguirre at him, we threw Rodman at him, we threw Mahorn at him. We couldn't do anything with him.
Yeah, ever. And
he was. I mean, he's the main reason y'all won in '88.
Yeah,
he was phenomenal.
Magic had a dope series as well.
Yeah, but
Magic was in line to win MVP that series until Game 7.
Yeah. I mean, but James was
he's
out of this world. He's out of this world.
Yeah.
But enough about the good times, because right now it's not the good times. So this Laker roster right now.
I strung it out as long as I could.
This Laker roster right now, we've got to talk about it. We've got Pat Bev. It's his team.
Good pickup. Let him talk and let him generate clicks. I have, ever since he went on First Take and the ESPN that week and basically cemented his brand, I have no problem with that, because it is what it is. Talking that nonsense about CP3 and about, let's not forget the last time we saw Pat Bev and CP3. Didn't CP3 give him 45 and there was a shove in the back and all that?
Yes, exactly.
We glossed up. And I was waiting for someone, Stephen A. I
was waiting for someone to say, "Didn't you get 40-something in the third?"
You don't sleep on him. You don't lose sleep over him. But he definitely gave you that work, didn't he? No one brought that up.
Yeah, and you sure shoved him in the back like a punk.
Yeah, a little bit. You carried that game, but as a piece, if you tell me that Pat Bev is my starting point guard on a team with LeBron James so that I can now pester, it's really impossible with today's rules and in today's NBA to really shut down an opposing guard, because you can't touch him. You can't breathe.
Touch him. Exactly.
But to make them to actually just work harder and make him less efficient on the other end, put Pat Bev on him, hit some corner threes here and there, open shots, fine. Good pickup. Let's move on.
now, what would be funny would be if, I don't see Pat Bev being the starting point guard, but if Pat Bev is coming off the bench at point guard, somehow Darvin can get Russ to play off the ball. It would be interesting.
What are you doing, man?
Hey! I'm trying to paint some hope somewhere, somehow, that they can coexist.
Russell Westbrook has never played off the ball in his entire NBA career.
No, he has not.
There is a myth.
However, we can't say it's not possible. Derrick Rose never played off the ball until those injuries, and he had to change his game, and now he can. So like, it should be as a professional, he should be able to change his game to adjust to where he is in his career.
Sure,
Will he?
Sure, have him tear 2 or 3 ACLs and come back in 3 or 4 years and give us a call. Um, and, I'm not wishing that. I never wish injuries, nothing like this, nothing. But it's a mindset. He still thinks he's that dude.
Yes,
and what he doesn't even understand is that your game has never really worked. It's put up a lot of numbers. It's put up a lot of stats, but they are empty stats, which is why as soon as KD left, you could not get out of the first round of the playoffs.
Right.
And even though the numbers kind of look good until you have a real understanding of efficiency and what it means and how important it is and how you grab all these rebounds on free throws and
when they're letting you, like no one's trying to rebound.
Are you really cutting into the other team's rebounding that much? No, you're not.
You're not.
You know, your constant attack, penetration, just, okay, you're racking up stats. Are these really good passes? Are you really setting up your teammates? No. Brother, I came under Magic. I understand what it meant to be a point guard and to have that presence on the court where I am a threat to either open this whole thing up or score on every possession. If someone's open, I'm going to hit them. With Magic, even if you weren't open, I'm probably going to hit them. And if everybody else is handled, I'm getting that. I'm going to score it myself. I'm going to do the best possible thing for this team to win. He's never been that. He's never been able to do that. There is this myth of this player who gives it 1,000,000% all the time. No, he does not. Because when he doesn't have that rock, he's not moving at all. I moved more times in this chair in the last half hour, and he's moved in 10 years off the ball. It's 4 on 5 on offense. Well, he doesn't have the ball, and it's the same on defense. Mm-hmm. So, no. Look, man, little personal story. Last year, we were on the brink, before the season started, we were on the brink of making that deal for Buddy Hield.
Which would have been smart.
Kuzma, and I forget the particulars because my mind at this point.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Kuz, another player.
Maybe KCP.
Yeah, it was Kuz, KCP, some cash, and
It was supposed to keep Caruso.
Yeah, they're going to keep Caruso. It was supposed to be Kuz, KCP, some cash,
and maybe
and I think like a second round, a future second rounder for Hield and some throwaway to complete the deal
from Sacramento.
Yes.
And hey, it was reported, it was a done deal. It was on Twitter, it was on Reddit, and then one of my friends, close friend of mine, hit me up on Facebook. I got a Facebook message, and they were like, "You okay?" I'm like, what do you mean? Yeah, they got your boy. I said, "Oh, word, Hield? We did it?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm good, yeah." Nah. Like, what? Yeah, your boys picked up Russell Westbrook. I'm like, see, why are you doing this to me? Like, come on, stop. Man, I turned on ESPN.
And you saw it for your own eyes.
And you know my reaction because it was in the group.
Hey, look, I felt bad for you because that was the same reaction I had when Detroit traded Billups for Iverson. It was I fell out my chair. I went to ESPN. I said I got a text. I was like, "You lying?" And I pulled up ESPN and I saw it and I was like, "You've got to be freaking kidding me! This is the worst move we could have made."
What? These are moves that you wouldn't even make on 2K, and right? This is real life, man. You did this. You really did this. You sat and you looked at this squad and you decided that on a team, it still does. It makes no sense. Now, in my crib, I don't even call him by his name. I call him Herpes because we can't get rid of him. It is an absolute nightmare. I'm waiting for the day, whatever you have to do. I don't care about these picks in 27-20. I don't care. give them up. If the deal is for Hield, Bogdanovich, I don't care. Do whatever you have to do to get him off the squad because it's not going to. I hope I'm wrong. Please let me come back. I want to look so stupid. I want a Russell Westbrook. I want this brother hitting corner threes and just
shooting in rhythm. Right?
Just shooting in rhythm and coming off screen. He can't spell screen. He's never said. They actually tracked where that brother set like 10 or 15 screens all last. Think about this: 70-some, 80 NBA games, and he set about 10 screens or 10 or 15 screens all year.
I'm surprised it's that high.
It's just so. Now the other things where you hear about, I mean, there's things that could work. Does it come down to the health of Anthony Davis, which I understand is a running joke, but I could see this happening. That bubble season that went into October and then started up again in January and late December, very much, because he was always on the brink. It very much short-circuited Anthony Davis, and it was too much. It was way too much on his system. I do question his off-season regiments as far as stretch.
I don't even think he has one. They've asked him, like, what are you doing off-season? And he never has an answer. I don't think he takes care of his body.
It looked like he bulked up coming into last year. It looked like he put weight on, which is the last thing he needed to do. He should really look into like yoga and stretching.
Yes, he needs to stretch.
And those were like his issues because when with him on the court and a LeBron, who's a mutant, LeBron is Homo sapien superior. We know this.
Yes, we know this.
I'm not looking for any kind of major drop off, but you can't depend on LeBron James to carry the entire load.
Not at 38 years old. He's going to be 38 in December. No, not at 38.
So it's got to be AD. If it's AD, LeBron, Pat Bev, with pieces around, I don't mind. There's certain players on this team that it doesn't sound as good as it could possibly be. They do have shooters. They do have some, marginal 3 and D guys. I like this kid. I like Austin. I like Austin Reeves. I like him for what he could be.
Yeah.
I like him as a spot-up catch and shooter who will hustle and D. He's not going to handle the rock, not going to make any plays, whatever. But can he hit 3 or 4 when he's open?
Yeah.
Not a problem. Is he going to work on D? I'm hearing really good things about Scottie Pippen Jr. I'm hearing really good things about Scottie Pippen.
The kid's talented.
Yes. He's not as long as you would like him to be.
He's not the game changer his dad was.
But
he's a solid player.
Yes, and he could be a lot. But again, he's someone who, okay, that could work. I'd like him to be, if he were a little bit longer, but he could work.
Yeah.
If you have these two superstars who remain healthy and you make certain, you put Buddy Hield on this team and just let him shoot. If you get, who's the other guy from the center from Indiana who's in every trade?
Miles Turner. But Miles gives you a legitimate rim defender, which they don't have.
Correct. Well, AD on rotations.
But again, legitimate rim defender. And AD is always weak side. And again, you can't depend on his health.
He's going to be out rotating on the perimeter. He's going to run down. That's why when people would try to clown or go in on certain stats, AD doesn't get enough boards. AD's going to go and get so many boards because he's out there rotations, pressuring shooters. They're AD's best defensive contract. 2020, when they won the bubble championship, which guess what? Y'all all cry about it because your squad didn't win it. Let's be real. Nobody would be one. No one's giving that ring back if their squad won it.
I'll say this about the bubble year. Yes, it was unique. Yes, it was different. Because the situation was unique and different. I don't hear Spurs fans talk about giving back the 99 belt title because
not at all.
It was a lockout year. I don't hear Heat fans talking about 2012.
2012.
It was a lockout year. If you're not going to complain about those seasons not counting, then I don't want to hear about the bubble not counting.
Exactly right.
They played. Yes, it was a unique situation. Some people went off. Rondo all of a sudden could shoot. But as hoopers, some cats are better in the open gym environment. and we saw Rondo go off. We saw T.J. Warren look like he was Michael Jordan, and he ain't played that good since.
T.J. Warren was on fire in NBA Jam. Like, who is this?
Who's like T.J. Warren dropping 50, dropping 40, dropping 35 almost every night? I'm like, T.J. Warren?
Who is this?
Like, what is going on here? TJ's supposed to be, your enforcer. He ain't supposed to be dropping buckets like this.
Jamal Murray and Donovan Mitchell gave us the greatest shootout.
Oh my God, yeah. It was insanity.
Great.
Yeah.
But
and some cats, the bub that open gym environment works great for some players.
And AD, who people forget, AD's playoff game always leveled up before the bubble. When AD would get to the playoffs on New Orleans, he was a beast. But my thing with AD that was the key to the whole thing in the bubble wasn't so much his level up in shooting defensively, and he should have won Defensive Player of the Year before COVID. Defensively, he went up to a level in that playoff run where he was like, to me, he was the second incarnation of peak KG on D, where he's everywhere. Mm-hmm. He's everywhere. Yeah. Every time he's not even there. He's intimidating people driving the lane. Right. He's out on
his length is bothering the passing lanes. He's
was
everywhere.
Insane. Defensively, he went to levels that just made me. I swooned because I love off-ball D because it doesn't show up in the stat sheet, but it's the key to the whole thing. Absolutely. And it was amazing. If he can give me that defensively, staying healthy, they'll beat. But I got to get Westbrook off the squad. To me, none of it works with him on the squad. I don't want to hear it.
You're 100% right.
It just doesn't work. It does not work. Do whatever you have to do. His game doesn't work offensively. Defensively, he will always be a sieve, a non-factor. He's good for one or two highlights a game, and then his lack of any ability to rotate, to move, to pick up, to switch. It's a lot of people have him as he doesn't make my top 10 all-time point guards. He never has. It's never been close. He puts up stats in a time where the league changed, where you can now put up those stats. More power to you. I understand that he's very much a philanthropist. He's a good dude I have no problem with that whatsoever. Get the hell off my squad, please. Please.
And nobody else really wants him.
No.
And honestly, I think they're going to have to cut him. They're going to have to release him. They're going to have to buy him out.
Who wants herpes?
Nobody. Nobody.
No.
I mean, no, and that's why they can't find a trade for him.
Can't.
He's a guy in his 30s, and he's declining. He doesn't want to accept that he's declined.
Yeah, he's going to be. And if he doesn't make that Derrick Rose move, like you said, and change up his game, he's not going to be in the league.
No, he's not. And he'll have to go play in Europe, where the level of play is low enough where he can try to still think he's 2012 Russell Westbrook.
Or go to Stephon route, go to China.
Or go to China. Philippines, he can play with Andre Blatch. I think Andre Blatch is still playing out there.
He's Hall of Famer out there.
Right.
That dude.
All right. So enough torturing my friend Jewel on.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate that, man.
Oh, you're welcome. No, I appreciate you being a good sport about it. We are going to transition from the Lakers to deep space.
Deep space.
We are talking For All Mankind Season 3. If you have not watched this show, listeners, it is on Apple TV. So you don't have to have an Apple TV, but the Apple TV service. It stars Joel Kinnaman, who you would all know probably as Colonel Flagg from Suicide Squad, or if you're really Joel Kinnaman fan, you would know him from The Killing.
Altered Carbon.
In Altered Carbon, that's right. Altered Carbon, The Killing, way back with early Joel Kinnaman. A very talented dude leading a very talented cast.
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into anything that it's going to be spoiler related, give me your ranking out of 6 of season 3 of For All Mankind.
Comparing it to the other 3, a 1 out of 6 ranking, I would give it, because we're going to get into it, I did have issues.
Okay.
comparing it to the other two and the way they ended, I would give this season a very strong 4.8 to a 5.
Okay.
Strong. Very strong. Very good. I mean, the show is dope.
Oh yeah.
The show is dope. The show is dope to the point where you're comparing it to itself.
Right.
Where it is dope.
Absolutely.
Certain things this season, I believe, went into the realm of soap opera.
Yes. Okay. I got you on that. I feel you on that.
I think you know what I'm talking
I
about.
know. Yeah, I got you. Yeah. We will get into that. Okay.
But the show for everyone, the show is dope.
Yeah. Why? Especially if you're in our age range, you're someone in your late 30s, early 40s. You're an 80s kid. You probably love space, and you grew up with space movies. This show gives you those space movie vibes, those feels, that sense of awe, the exploration. It's what made every 80s kid pretty much want to be an astronaut growing up. Like, it's just got that vibe. So definitely watch the show. I am going to go a little bit lower than you.
Okay.
I'm going to give this a 4.5
Okay.
out of 6 because of some of those soap opera things that, to me, would not have played out in a more realistic excursion that we're talking about here.
Very true.
So from this point on, you are officially warned. This is now a spoiler area. If you ain't watched the show yet, I would recommend you press pause now on this episode. Go and watch For All Mankind Season 3. And when you're done, come back and resume this, because anything from here on out is going to be about what happened. So, for those still listening, Season 2 ended with showing landing on Mars. Season 3 kicks off with somewhere I didn't expect. And so season 3 kicks off with time has passed, with a lot of time has passed since the ending of season 2. And now we are
9-year time jump.
Yeah, about 9-year time jump. Where we are now in the 1990s, and Karen and
Ed.
Yes, and Karen and Ed are now divorced.
Mm-hmm.
Karen is currently an executive for Polaris, which is a luxury space liner, essentially. And Ed and his current wife are invited onto this maiden voyage. Karen is on Earth. Karen and them are having a wonderful time. Danielle and her husband, we get a nice little unexpected Sean Patrick Thomas.
Right?
And I was like, oh, there's Sean and his bright old teeth. Look at Sean, his big bright teeth. We ain't seen that in a while.
Like, oh.
Hey, it was like, see the old fella. Hey, good to see you, brother. I
Hey.
ain't seen you in a minute, brother. How you been?
Yeah.
Oh, so good to see Sean.
Shouts to Julia Stiles.
Yes, and shout out, whoever you do in Julia Styles, shout out to you too. Say the Last Dance reunion. It's got to be coming up on 20 years now.
Yeah, one more dance.
And so we've got this, and now the Polaris ship looked amazing.
Awesome.
That totally had my mind spinning, and I was like, oh God, I really hope like Elon Musk or dude from Branson from Virgin or Bezos and them are watching this and they're like, oh wow, we've got to build this now. Like don't build this. But it looked amazing. Like,
one of the best things about this show that has been true since possibly episode 1 of season 1, and very much translated into the Polaris hotel cruise ship, for the lack of a better term, the science. They respect the science, and the science that they put into the show is always on point. It is always razor sharp. Conceptually, it is always brilliant. Where that's how this would work.
Yeah.
You might have to stretch reality a tidbit here and there, but a little bit. But this is how it works. And with that science and with everything working the way it works, it has to work this way. They always interject that danger.
Well, there is there's a quote that I say all the time now. Anytime I am talking about a space show, and it's from Star Trek 2009 when Kirk gets onto the shuttle when he first decides to join Starfleet, and he meets McCoy, and McCoy's like, space is death and disease wrapped up in darkness. And I'm like, he's 100% right. Like, that is what space is. And you're just going to willfully go out into it.
Shouts to Carl Urban, man.
And Carl delivered that line perfectly. And I'm just like, bruh, he's 100% right.
Yes, he is.
It's like, it sounds so pessimistic, but which fit McCoy to a T, but it's like, space is death and disease wrapped up in darkness. That's what it is. So, like, I know, like, some people I talk to are like, I can't believe, like, there's always these constant problems that happen. I'm like, that's what happens in space.
That's what happens. It's designed to, it's supposed to kill you. You're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, we're not supposed to be there. Like,
no.
Regardless of your like belief system, whether you are whether you're an evolutionist or a creationist or whatever, none of those ways of coming about are meant for us to be out there.
We're always meant to be
here, right? In the environment that keeps life going. We ain't supposed to be out here.
No, at all.
So it's going to try to kill you.
The slightest thing doesn't work, we're not going to be out there anymore either.
Right. Exactly.
That's how it is.
So, like, so in typical, just so fitting within that quote, which is my favorite space quote of all time now. Polaris is awesome. It's amazing. The centrifugal force driven by by the spinning, creating the gravity, and like you said, the science is on. Like, it, For All Mankind to me is the Interstellar of space shows.
Yes,
in that there's so much legitimate science, and if you're not decently well read, you have no idea what they're talking about.
Right.
And sometimes, like, you need to pause and, like, okay, I need to look this up. And, like, and there have been times where I've paused and I'm like, okay, I need to look this up. I was like, wow, okay. I just learned something today.
They do a good job, a little bit better than Interstellar for a lot of people, of explaining the practicality behind it. They don't give training wheels though. Like, hey, look, they don't dumb it down. Like, look, if you don't get it, like you said, then look it up. But they do give you the practicality of the whys more than a lot. But it's so conceptually brilliant because, like you said, it's stuff that, you know what? Do this. And it's stuff that we can do. They're using more advanced mid-1990s technology under the from the perspective, I should say, of, remember, because of this moon race, because of this space race, technology has been pushed forward in the mid-90s just a little bit beyond where we were because it flooded the market. Once we went to the moon.
Which conceptually, it makes sense.
Makes total sense.
Yeah, if the space race would have continued, the advancement would have progressed faster.
We'd be 30 years beyond where we are now.
Exactly. And that's a big premise for the show if you've never seen the show before, listeners.
But it is not over the top.
No, it really isn't.
No.
So Polaris is awesome. It seems to be purring without a hitch. Mm-hmm. We see that Ed and his new wife have some marital stress because Ed, while being cool, is still a bit of a dick.
Yep.
This is who Ed is.
Ed is a dick.
And we have now I'm forgetting his name. I just had his name in my head. But the older son of
Danny.
yeah, Dan. Yeah, we've got Danny up there, who's a recent graduate, and everyone's so proud of him. And he's up there on Polaris, and it's kind of like it's like a reunion of sorts here on Polaris. And we have
oh yeah.
yeah, it's a whole reunion going on, and then we have our tragedy strikes, immediately. And now it's like, okay, they realize that it's spinning too fast, or gravity's getting too high, and of course they're having a party when this is happening. When the rocket starts boosting too much, and the people of ground control, they know what's going on, but they haven't really told anybody up top yet. And the passengers are just chilling and they're drinking. So when people start stumbling, everybody thinks, "Oh, everybody a little too tipsy." Okay, but no, it was the gravity.
How about the wedding cake?
Yeah, yeah, and they're sinking into the wedding cake.
Right, those little gravity clues that again just
great
so
detail.
Good. Yes. So good.
And of course, Danielle, the super smart sister Danielle, she's one of the first to realize. She's like, oh, hold on, something's wrong here. I think the gravity's off. She alerts Ed, and then we go to our first how we're going to fix this in space scene. And unlike seasons 1 and 2, Ed does not end up being the hero.
Right.
We get the established of Danny ends up being the hero. He ends up going evac. He goes out and does a spacewalk and saves the day. And they tease that he's dead. And by all rights, in real life, he would have been dead.
He would have been dead. Plot armor.
Yeah. Plot armor saves him. And, he saves the day. And Polaris itself is saved. Unfortunately, the business partner of Karen and Polaris passes away.
Her husband,
which was no, they weren't. No, it was other girl's ex-husband, but they weren't. I thought they were together, but they weren't together because I double checked.
I thought that they had remarried. You might be right. I thought that she actually did marry him. They were.
I thought that too, but if they did, she didn't take his name.
Okay.
Because I thought they had gotten married too.
Okay.
But unfortunately, he passes away.
Right.
And Danny ends up saving the day, which very reminiscent of his hero parents who died, back in season 2 on
Gordo and Tracy. How about that? Broke my
I cried because I didn't like either one of them, but when they died, I was like, oh Lord,
when they didn't, and you knew they weren't gonna make it.
Oh yeah, and they had no shot of making
it. It made me, man. I was like, damn, that hit me hard.
Like I wanted them to make it
the whole time,
but part of me was like, there's no way they could have made it.
It's like if they make it, it's stupid, but I want it to happen anyway.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
But nah.
Because like, come on, I mean, then like then I would expect Red Green to come out of nowhere and be like, "I told you, duct tape."
Exactly.
Duct tape is everything. Like, come on, man, you tell me duct tape protects you from the vacuum of space now? We can only stretch our willingness, our disbelief can only be stretched so far.
And they don't do that. Like we touched on the plot armor. The show wields that as all shows do, but it isn't over the top. And there's always that level of, okay, you can believe that Danny was dead. I thought Danny was dead. And the show, no one's really safe. And that's dope. There's something else you touched on as well, real quick. Mm-hmm. It speaks to the growth of a character and the growth of a show. Ed was not the hero.
Yes.
Which again, that's show growth. That's good. And it's not always that dude. They don't Lion-O that whole thing where he's always that.
Always that, yep.
Always that dude. And I like how at this point, when Danielle says something to Ed, there's no doubt.
Yep, he's listening.
There's no pushback. It's okay. If she says this is going down and this is a problem, it's a problem. Because he knows his sister's got it together at all times. I like that. And, when they first, were coming up together, and she was in the program, and she was, they had that conflict where she was science and he was fighter pilot,
Yep.
but their friendship, their bond, that growth, and they know each other.
Oh yeah, I mean they spent a year together alone, like they have to, and it would have been horrible plot wise if he didn't have that trust in her after everything they went through on that moon base.
Wouldn't have made any sense.
It wouldn't make a single bit of sense, and it would have been over pushing the male chauvinistic, anti-black point.
Correct.
Just after spending all that time with somebody and surviving what they survived together, there is no way after going through that and the trust that you have to build to survive that, that he wouldn't heed every word she says.
Every day.
Yeah. He would heed her word on Tide versus Gain. Like, she says gain, I'm using gain. If she says woolite, I'm using woolite. Like that's the type of trust that he has in her. So
because
that's great development. Absolutely. So we get back to Earth and we see some new some other characters. We see Danny's little brother's grown. He looks terrible. I don't know why they had to make him look so bad. Bruh. He looks like he's balding and he's supposed to be like 20. Yeah, like 20 years old. He's looking pudgy. Now, granted, with your parents dying tragically on the moon is going to mess you up.
Publicly.
That's going to mess you up.
Right. And being the public guy, the way they died and how he saw the whole thing, his issues with NASA, but man.
Yeah, but man, like he ain't have to look that ugly. It's like, good God. He's like, wow. Well, I mean, I think him and Will from Stranger Things have the worst hair in television right now. It's so bad. So he's like you said, he's not trusting NASA. He's not come to grips with the death of his parents and constantly living in Danny's shadow because Danny has returned from Polaris, a hero. He was already the favorite, draped, following his parents' footsteps. He's an astronaut. He's now comes back draped in more glory. He's got a girl and they get married and he's just the nothing little brother. So, we see where they are in that story. And what really is cool is we get our man and we get another. Hey, I haven't seen you in a while. We get the brother Darwin showing up. I'm like, hey, brother, where you been? It's good to see you.
Back from the dead of First Class when they killed him when they shouldn't have been able to kill him.
When they killed the unkillable man. Yeah.
Killed the unkillable black man. And then back from the dead of that wig and whatever they were doing in the chest with Twilight.
Oh my God! I don't know what that was. Shoot me now. Thank you, Lord, for all mankind for bringing us back, Sean.
The resurrection
of Darwin to some respectability. Letting this man be able to show his talent as an actor to the world instead of being clowned in just terrible productions.
Just terrible. As much as I love First Class, I personally feel that X-Men First Class is the most X-Men of the X-Men movies, personally. You had training, you had team, you had camaraderie, you had team building, you had all that. None of them had. It was not perfect. No. Shouts to your wife and Emma Frost. You know what I'm talking about. Because, man.
Oh, Lord, yeah.
This needs some ice. Word?
Yes.
But I love the character. I love Dev is one of my favorite characters of the season. I'll put that on jump.
Absolutely.
I love Dev. I love what Dev turns out to be, and I especially love what Dev turns out not to be. But we'll get to that.
Yes. Okay. So Dev is the head of Polaris.
Phoenix.
Sorry.
You know about me. You know about me in Phoenix.
Phoenix. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So he's they are a co-op rival for NASA in the space race. In his hierarchy, there is no hierarchy. Even though he's the top, everyone gets a vote, which is, he's supposed to represent the space hippies, essentially, people who have more of an
Dreams.
altruistic
Yes.
look on life, and not out here just for profit or for country glory,
Mhm.
as the Russians are, as as NASA is, and such. So we have the whole push here, obviously, because of the tease at the end of season 2, is the race for Mars. We've got the Russians in their race, and NASA mainly are the two initially competing. Dev and his company come in and they buy the Polaris, because they want to pretty much modify it and use it to fly to Mars.
Mhm.
And so they enter as a third competitor in this race to Mars. Karen makes the deal, and much to Ed's chagrin, he didn't think she would be getting involved in this race to Mars. Um, Ed is dealing with his own issues because NASA needs to decide who the commander of the Mars mission is going to be. Molly Cobb, still doing her job, has to make the decision between Danielle or Ed, and she is butting heads uh, with. Now I can't remember her name.
Margot.
Margot, yes, with Margot over Danielle versus Ed. Margot was leaning towards with Danielle. She feels Danielle's earned it, and because it's a more of an exploration mission, it's more science based. She thinks Danielle should lead the mission, and Molly, being a fighter jock, the jockey's fighter jock out there,
Yes, he is.
she wants to go with tried and true Ed. And because Ed had wielded his position the way the position Molly has, which was Ed's position before, the same way as pretty much like there is no one can overrule her, she makes the decision to go with Ed. Margot overrules her anyway, causing Molly to quit, and causes Ed to quit.
Because unfortunately, she tells Ed that
Yes,
she was going with him,
yes,
and then it's overruled.
yes. Because Molly calls Ed up. Oh gosh, no, she goes to uh, where Ed is doing was is teaching,
Mm.
and tells him, and then the official posting comes out, and he realizes she was overruled. So that causes a split there, which causes some tension between Danielle and Ed, because Ed tells Danielle and she congratulates him, and then he is not as so congratulatory towards her once the reversal happens.
Pride.
Pride, and then of course he makes a comment that she got it because she's black and she's a woman.
Yes, he did.
To which Danielle, she wasn't taking that mess,
Nope.
as a strong sister should not take that mess. She ain't take it from Ed, and she let him know, like, after all this time, that's how you gonna respond to me? Okay, I see how it is, Ed. Um, Ed gets subsequently off. Actually, before we continue on that, talk to me about how about Danielle right now in getting command. For this timeline here, Danielle in the 1990s here, black woman, is going to be the head of NASA's mission to Mars. Like, that's wild.
Completely wild because, again, comparing the else world to our world, we were not there yet.
We
But,
barely had Dr. Mae Jemison.
correct. But given her previous experience and given what she was publicly, now we know her shortcomings and how it actually went down in those prior seasons and certain things that didn't happen. But her public persona, her public name, her public image was a different way.
Right.
So that made sense, and I was good with it. I liked it, and make no mistake, from Molly's perspective, it wasn't anything public relations, but given this day and age in NASA, it was absolutely used to their advantage. What Ed said, did it bite? Did it cut? Yes. Was there 1% of truth in it? A little bit. from the perspective of a Margot who's always thinking about the greater good, for lack of a better term.
Absolutely.
What's best for business, shouts to the McMahons. Some of that was absolutely in there.
Yeah.
So was that in the mix, in the mold? I was cool with it. My only problem is, even given the climate and given how things were during this time in that Elseworld, that's very much something that was very meta in accordance with what we see today.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Not in the mid 90s.
Right.
Not even back then. That's something that would absolutely be done today. Was she qualified? Absolutely. Is it a move?
Overqualified. Not even just qualified.
Sure.
Over. Yeah.
But when it comes to flight director, which is what Molly was, Molly's looking at, okay, who's going to get everybody home?
Right. She's thinking pilot. She's thinking survivability.
Period.
And she's thinking also danger. Because, again, space is space.
Space is going to kill you.
And when space tries to kill you, is Danielle likely to get everybody home safe? Or is Ed likely to get everybody home safe?
It's Ed all day.
Yeah, and it's Ed. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, again, it sets up one of those wonderful conflicts where everybody's right and everybody's a little bit wrong.
Yeah. It's the Crimson Tide effect is why I
There you
refer to
go.
it. He's right, but he's right too.
He's right too.
So we go into one of the back subplots, which is a little bit more soap opera-y here in the show, into the president. Yes, the president is a woman. So if you have watched the show previously, one of the astronauts, she had a she's a lesbian. She had a romantic relationship with a woman. They hid it, and she tried to be with her for a while. They broke up because she wanted to pursue other avenues and getting into politics. She got married to pretty much her husband, who was a beard. They're both closeted homosexuals, and they, surprisingly, I didn't expect the show to do this, they have ascended to the presidency.
Mm-hmm.
And she is not only the president, and this is part of the show being a bit meta, because she is a closeted lesbian, married to a closeted gay man, president, female president of the United States as a Republican. Which made me laugh.
Bruh, one step beyond. Like, okay, check. Wait, what?
and she ran on a very conservative ticket.
And
so
beat.
So it's like, I was like, okay, you're really going very meta here. Okay, and they have a child together, which I was completely shocked that they went there too. I'm like, now they got a child on top of it. Like they really went all in on this beard thing. Like, okay.
And she very much used her, because she was the hero in another situation that happened in the prior season.
Correct.
As a national hero, she used that to jumpstart her political career, which is historically, military, NASA, that's what they did.
Yeah. I mean, and anyone who had been a hero in space, yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody just becomes an astronaut, they pretty much get elected into some office after they come back. I mean, that's just how it goes. And you don't even have to be a war hero. You can just be in a war. So that true to life, she uses that springboard, and it gets her to the presidency, which, again, I did not see that coming.
No.
So that has an interesting plot hole. So as president of the United States, obviously she and Margot are still closely in communication, as Margot oversees all of NASA.
Mm-hmm.
For those that did not see, Margot has a relationship, a work relationship that's a little romantically entangled. They like each other with Russia's head rocket scientist, and she's been leaking their rocket plans to him for quite some time, which of course is treason, because the Cold War is not over in this
at all.
in this timeline. So what she's doing is definitely traitorous.
And
That would be considered. And I
and
mean, it's
for not for any nefarious reason.
yeah, for
with
no nefarious reasons, but yeah,
it's really just helping Sergey out because she does have feelings for him. She wants him to succeed, and she understands that if he fails, the consequences are dire in the Soviet Union.
yes.
It's really just helping him
It's
out.
just helping. It's just helping. It's helping
Yeah.
her boo thing stay
She's
alive.
she's not a traitor.
Yeah, she's not. I
You
mean,
know, you know.
they will call, and if you
By
do this
law,
IRL, they'll call you a traitor because
Right.
they consider treasonous. But no one's doing anything, like you said, nefarious. There's nothing
Correct.
malicious going on here.
No.
Nobody's going to get shot or attacked.
No. Well,
The only it's just the stretch of the imagination that they could use this for a future attack, but that's that's all supposition. So what she's doing isn't really bad, but it would be considered, if she's caught, considered treasonous.
you're going to jail.
Right, and you're going to jail for a very long time. So we move forward in these first two episodes, and we really just have a lot of posturing back and forth between these three competitors, between the Russians getting inserting themselves into the space race, NASA, and Dev and his people, and which each chess move someone takes a slighter step closer to being ready for this launch.
Mm-hmm.
While this is happening, our favorite rocket scientist at NASA has not one. Again, this time jump being so large. She's not a teenager anymore. She's married with a kid. Papa's living with her. He's got dementia. Her husband's doesn't want to deal with living with her dad, and because of the mistakes he's making, and eating his not well cooked food because he doesn't remember what he's doing. So first I was like, why is he mad that her dad cooked dinner? And then I'm like, oh yeah, Daddy's mind's not there. Okay.
Yeah, certain things are left out.
Yeah. He forgot. I mean, they're Mexican. I was gonna say he forgot the adobo, but they're Mexican, so I don't know what spice he forgot, but he forgot something important.
Either way, there was no sofrito.
Yeah, there was no sofrito. There was missing a lot there, and he didn't season it well at all. But Aleda Rosales is the character I'm mentioning. She played by Coral Pena, who does a fantastic job as Aleda.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, "Good Lord," but we'll continue from that.
And Aleda is now the head of flight, essentially, at NASA. So she's done a great job. She's come up, and as
absolutely brilliant.
Yes, absolutely brilliant. And because of her continued work, their timetable increased at NASA. They've got new rockets that are pretty much all her designs.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got NASA, Helios, run by Dev, and the Russians.
Helios, correct, not Phoenix.
Yes, Helios, yeah. I was skipping. I was saying Phoenix sounds right, but Phoenix is the ship.
But yeah, the Phoenix was the ship. And I have Phoenix on the brain at all times. Anyway.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. So Helios Aerospace and the Russians, and they all essentially have little problems here and there. Helios pulls a trump card. Dev goes to, not only does he buy the ship from Karen, but he convinces Karen to come on and hires her as the COO at Helios, which puts her in a I gotta say one thing. I've seen some fans online giving some Mary Sue treatment to Karen, because in season 2 she's a bar owner, and all of a sudden now season 3 starts and she's an executive of this this pleasure line company, and now she's COO at Helios. But a decade pretty much went by. I mean, are you telling me your imagination can't stretch from a woman who wasn't like she was dumb? She wasn't a stupid woman, but
Always
a
had
woman
a
who,
business acumen, ran a
yes,
business, ran it well, got in with someone who just opened up opportunities and had wealth, had money. Okay, now you put this person in a business acumen where they're able to train in this field, learn this, learn that. You take your skill set and you apply it. Come on, man. We know how that can work.
absolutely. So it's
Stop.
like, come on, like this is not far fetched.
No,
She saved the bar from closing, and she was running it by herself. Like, don't tell
by
me
herself.
this woman doesn't understand how to run business.
Karen was who she was on merit. That's stop that. That's ridiculous.
Exactly. That's so. I wanted to mention that because that was ridiculous. So what I
Time.
saw. So, um, so Karen's doing her thing and she's doing it well, and it's dope that she's finally getting the recognition
Yes.
for her work on a super high level, and uh, she starts to go poaching. She starts poaching people from NASA,
Why not?
and
Al
so
Davis.
and sign them to Helios.
Al
It's flat out what it is. She's poaching them. She poached Ed,
hmm
and she poached. I'm not even going to pretend to remember his name, but one of the guys. He didn't mentor Aleda, but worked with Aleda.
Worked closely with Elena. Yeah.
Strauss, Bill.
Bill.
Yes, she poached Bill,
Yep.
who was our lead mission controller, to Helios as well. So, what the season is doing as you watch, it's really is showing a balance because the Russians have plans from NASA as far as so their rockets can keep up. Helios is poaching NASA talent, and then NASA has their, still has some of their talent there, and they're obviously keeping up. So
Their
you've got a
brand,
very tight three-way race. It comes
which is
down,
really refreshing to see
yes,
because for all in most of these shows and in this show, but in all shows, it's the U.S. against the Soviets, the U.S. against the Soviets. When you entered that third party into it, it just was just it added another element that was dope.
yes, and it wasn't China to be like this other bad guy. It was it's somebody else, someone unexpected. So that which made it very very refreshing.
hmm
Absolutely. So they are rushing to get to the window for launch. Everybody launches, and so they're all out there, and the race is on essentially. Back on Earth, Karen is she's excited because she thinks things are going well with Helios. She feels Dev and them respect her. She's in a great place. Um, the president and her husband have a little drama start to come out because again
Boy, here we go.
her husband's been dipping. Her husband's been pulling a Bill Clinton in the Oval Office, and the guy he's dipping into, hey, loose lips sink ships,
Uh-huh.
and he decided to tell somebody. Who's like, "Oh, I'm not going to tell." And the moment after he gets done being told, he gets in the car and he tells, um, and which I mean, it happens, and you can't trust nobody, especially in DC.
No.
You know, and
Everybody's listening.
everybody's listening, everybody, and you tell somebody something, and they are going to repeat it. So the president's, the president's husband, I always forget his name.
I
He's
completely forget
yeah,
his name.
he's just yeah, I
He's a character.
yes, he's there.
You know what? First gentleman.
Right. Yes, and which he takes a lot of flack for, which beats on his male pride a bit because he's the first husband and he's the first husband.
Right.
So he's at it's not even a Senate committee meeting, but it's a kind of an unofficial meeting, and he gets targeted and railroaded with this information. Of course, he plays dumb. He denies it
And commits perjury.
and commits perjury on it. And obviously, then he has to go and tell his wife what had happened was, and now she is, one, she's upset because everything they worked for and built for is now completely in jeopardy, and she is only 2 years into her term as president. Larry, his name is Larry.
Larry, okay.
Yes, Ellen's husband, Larry. Yeah, so she's very upset with Larry, and she's like, "I sacrificed everything. I wanted to be with my chick. I sacrificed that. I'm not stepping out on nobody, so we can keep up this, this charade. And you out here, smashing dudes in my office, like, bruh, like, well, come on, like, this is not okay." So that drama is going on Earth, but in space, everything so far is cool.
Now, don't forget that not only did they recruit Ed to Helios, but he is leading
he is commander. Yes,
commanding the ship to Mars, which brings up that element of him being against Danielle, which was also dope, and the way they handled it was tight.
Yes,
only rivals.
I did neglect to mention that they poached him to be the commander further. Now, now Phoenix, which is Polaris redesigned, is freaking awesome. It is straight out. It is like more realistic TNG looking. Like, it is so freaking dope. That bridge,
man.
I need that bridge set. Like, in my basement or my backyard. Like, that set was gorgeous.
I was like looking at it, like, my wife is heavily into Legos. And I'm like, why can't we put that together?
Facts.
Why can't I just get like some kind of model? Because this is amazing. Y'all killed it with this one.
Yes. Like, the set designers, they need an award. And if there's no set designer award out there, they need to make one, because that was absolutely amazing. This Helios design period totally fit the vibe of the company.
That was Starfleet Command, man.
Yes, it looked Star Trekian.
Yup.
And NASA and Russia just look like real life, and theirs look like Star Trek. So part of me is like, I'm rooting for Helios. I'm rooting for Darwin.
Found yourself rooting, and we were rooting for the brother, of course.
Yes.
We're always going to root, the sisters on the one ship. We're always going to have a soft spot for Ed because of what Ed's quote-unquote failure in the past. You want that redemption for Ed. You want the dreamer. Plus, this is the company. This isn't the establishment, and it's not the Soviets.
Exactly.
But they had, like you said, those traditional bridges and those traditional makeups, while Helios was something that would be built by us.
Exactly.
Like, if we were going to put this together, what would it look like? Boom. It would look
just like that. Exactly. Oh, so so they also poached Danny from NASA. I forgot to mention that. So Danny Stevens is also with Helios, and he's also on the ship. Now, he should have been grounded because he's a hot mess.
We can't forget about his issues.
Yeah, Danny's got issues. Stemming obviously from, again, from Gordo and Tracy's death.
Mm-hmm.
He's been dipping into drugs, and he's also still hung up. From those who don't know, he always had a crush on Karen.
Oh, he was dipping into a lot of things.
Yeah, he had a big crush on Karen. He ended up working for Karen at the bar for a while, and while working for her, he expressed his interest in her, which was rebuffed multiple times until one time she didn't rebuff enough, and she let old Danny Boy hit.
Yep.
And he has been stuck on her since. So he has a animosity towards Ed because of his crush, even though Ed and Karen are not married. But they are on good speaking terms. So he assumes she's going to go back to Ed.
That's enough for old Danny.
Which is enough for him. He is married with a child, but he really doesn't care for this. Care for his wife. He is hung up on Karen big time. And so he's been getting into the pills, which messed him up and got him, which was reminiscent of his father. So Ed was going to give him a pass because, hey, it's Gordo and Tracy's kid. He's kind of expected.
And Shane's best friend, Ed.
Yes.
Ed,
and for those who did not see season 1, Karen and Ed's oldest son was best friends. Who with Danny, and their son passed away. He was hit by a car on his bike. So that's also some baggage that both of them had from the passing of Shane Baldwin. And so he's just a hot mess. He's dipping in the pills. His parents' death, Shane's death from a while ago, his animosity towards that over Karen, his desire to be with Karen. He's a husband and a father, and then his little brother annoys him. So he's just, it's all over the place with Danny. So
should never have been on that shit.
Yeah, so space is not where Danny should be right now. He should not be there. But alas, that is where he is. So everything at first in space is cool. They've been in space for a couple months. Everyone's flying, and the Helios team's a little bit ahead of NASA, and then the Russians are a little bit behind. The two of them, and Helios decides to, hey, we're gonna they pull off a move to give themselves some more speed, and all of a sudden they are clearly ahead projection-wise to reach Mars first, because obviously it's a race.
Mm-hmm.
Danielle's like, oh, well done, Ed, well done. But NASA has a trick up their sleeve, and they go Star Trekian, and they pull out some massive, some freaking massive, and it reminded me of that sailing trip from DS9 that that Ben and Jake Sisko went on.
Mm-hmm.
I just had that vibe from it, and they pull out some massive solar sails, and
which again
is practical and rooted in real science.
Yes, it is.
So if you're thinking solar sails, what's that? It's a real thing. So look it up. And the solar sails, and so the light that's collected within a solar sail generates energy and increases their propulsion. So, and as big as these sails were that they put on their ship, like I said, when I say massive, I'm not being exaggerating in my description. Like, they show how massive these sails are.
Miles.
They're freaking huge. So that gives NASA the lead in the projection in this space race.
And they get Helios. Phoenix is about to get walked down.
Yeah, Phoenix is like, oh man, we can't make this up. They crunch the numbers back on Earth and like, yeah, they gonna beat us by a couple of days. And I think it was like a 3-day, it was 3 days they'd have beat them there. Like, it wasn't even close.
Nah.
So things are going well for NASA and okay for Helios, but the Russians are always the Russians, and in any American production, pretty much since the 80s, the Russians are going to be they're gonna be the heels. They're gonna get the pratfalls. Things are not going to go well for the Russians.
It's gonna break
because we still hate the USSR, even though it doesn't exist anymore. We still hate them so much that we have to crap on them every moment we chance we get. So the Russians, because again, their plans were leaked by Margot, and we find out, and their ship breaks. The rockets stop working. They're in trouble, and protocol and just general human decency is that one of the other ships would go to help them. So Phoenix being second place, it behooved them to save the Russians. Ed, being a good man, not a great man, but a good man, wants to do the right thing and go save the Russians. And unfortunately, they make our man Dev say no. Dev's like, nah, you know what? We're a company, we're a private company. NASA's a government entity. This is a government thing. Let NASA do the rescuing, let them be the heroes. We're going to go to Mars. Ed is like, bump that. That's not what's going on. We're going to save them. But in something that would definitely happen today, Ed makes a command to turn the ship around, and the command does not go because Dev had uploaded a software update and essentially locked him out of the controls. So
you ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. He's like, you ain't turning this ship around.
You going to Mars.
Oh, you is going to Mars.
You is going to Mars.
That's exactly what Dev says. Like, nope, you is going to Mars, boy.
Oh, really?
Oh, really? You gonna turn that thing around, huh? Let me hit upload.
Yep, click.
Go ahead, try to turn that thing around. Ain't working, is it? No. So Ed is royally pissed, but he can't do anything about it. The ship is not responding to their control, so they have limited control of the ship. They go on. He tells Danielle. Danielle's like, crap, now I gotta lose this lead. They retract their solar sails. They turn around and go to rescue the Russians. And again, we get problems in space here because the Russian stolen design is too closely related to the American design because that's where it came from. And now we've got some, I forget if it was magnetic issues or something that went awry during the attempted rescue that cost the lives of 2 cosmonauts and 2 of the American astronauts, which in reality...
The spin, once the spins got too close as far as the gravity on both ships, it threw everything off.
Yes.
And it did cause like a full rupture and the hull to rupture on the Russian
ship. That's right. And that's what the show said. But and the reality of the show is because the Russian ship was broken, they're going to have to merge crews, and there just wasn't enough space for those 4 people, so they had to die. They had to die.
Some of y'all had to go.
Some of y'all can't fit on this ship. Some of y'all have to die. There were 4 people whose names we didn't even really know. Ain't nobody care about them. There was no attachment for the show to these people. So like when you knew when they were going up in space, you knew they were going to die. Because there was no attachment to them whatsoever.
They had the red shirts on Star Trek.
Actually, you know what? The woman was redheaded too. So they killed the redheaded woman. And she was like the first one to protest about saving the Russians too. So you knew she was going to die. She's like, I don't want to be here.
Yeah, well, you won't be.
So they're like, okay, you do the spacewalk to save them, and then she dies. So now we've got a very interesting dichotomy, and we have this blended crew of Russians and Americans on this Russian ship. And I forgot to give one detail. For those who remember season 2, the Baldwins adopted a little Asian girl out of Thailand, I think. Vietnam. That's right, Vietnam. Of course, it was the 70s. Vietnam. Mm-hmm. They adopted a little Vietnamese girl named her Kelly, and she becomes, of course, super smart scientist. She's a botanist, I believe. And she is on the NASA crew, even though she was offered a spot at Helios. She is on the NASA crew. So she is there amongst these Russians. And Danielle is now trying to play catch up and get to Mars. Somehow, for the rest of the 3-year trip, there's no more drama.
No. Imagine
that.
Especially this season.
For real. So 2 incidents in 3 years of space flight. I mean, honestly, that's a pretty good percentage.
That's damn good.
That's really freaking good. So we get there, and now again the race is on, and Phoenix gets into orbit first, and then I forget the name of the NASA ship. They get there as well. They get into orbit, and now the race is defined who's going to be on the land first.
Mm-hmm.
And Mars decides just to have some really bad weather. So no one can land, no one can see, no one's got enough clear visual to
See,
their
that
landing sites.
that was karma. That was space karma for your ass, Dev, for not wanting to save those people.
Right? For not
Mars,
trying to help them Russians, Mars was like, you know what, Dev, you're not going to be
you
able
know
to land
what?
when you get here.
I'm gonna feel a little bit stormy tonight.
Right?
And tomorrow night.
I feel like blowing up a dust bowl. What you think? What you
Yeah.
think, rest of me? Yeah, let's do that.
You know those dust storms on Mars last 6 to 8 months. So
Facts, right?
we gonna just sit this one out for a while. Just chill for a minute.
Just chilling. So we have some more character development here with Ed. So from season 1, Ed did not make it. We didn't win the space race partially because Ed was not able to land the ship. He was told not to. That was too close. It was too dangerous. It was, I think it was too shallow, something like that with the angle when him and Gordo were supposed to land on the moon.
Mm-hmm.
And that caused the Russians to land on the moon first in this show. So if you didn't know that, the Russians won the space race. They landed on the moon first in this reality. So Ed definitely wants to be the first person to step on Mars. He wants that piece of history. As he and Danny are in their little shuttle, they're going down. Danielle, and them are their whole ship is designed to land on Mars compared to the 2-man shuttle from Phoenix, because again, Phoenix was Polaris and it's a freaking luxury cruiser. It's not landing on any surface of anything.
No.
So Ed and Danny are going down to the little shuttle, and Ed kind of technically has a repeat of his moon landing attempt, and instead of going for it and landing, he bugs out, and we kind of get a glimpse of maybe it wasn't all NASA's call the first time when it was the moon. Maybe some of it was Ed not wanting to take the chance, even though we've seen Ed take other chances before. So NASA lands on the moon.
It also gave you a glimpse real quick as to where they was going to land. They would have died.
Yes, they would have died. Yeah, there was no chance that they would have survived.
Nope.
So he made the right move, but it definitely was showing. You could see and Kinnaman did a great job portraying the self-doubt.
Awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
We have to, if there's anything we do real quick, the acting in the show, top to bottom, is brilliant. I mean, I could say with the exception of maybe with Jimmy, Jimmy every so often just like, all right, he looks like he just has this constant look of confusion on his face, and he's got one note with that.
Right.
But everyone else, Ed, Daniel, everyone consistently, the acting is on point.
Oh, yeah, it's fantastic.
On point.
Margot, Sergey, Aleda, Ellen and Larry, everybody. The acting is fantastic. The emotions portrayed, like you feel it.
You absolutely feel
it. You absolutely feel it. You feel for these people. You feel the pain that they're going through, the fear that they're going through, the anxiety that they're going through. And that's why this show is such a fantastic ride, because everybody makes you believe it.
Yep.
So no, I'm glad you said that, because that is a fantastic point. This cast really makes you believe it. So prior to the landing, obviously the Russians, because this is an extended Cold War, there's a lot of friction going on the ship between the Russian commander and Danielle, and within the crews, and there's definitely some friction between Kelly and one of the Russians, because they start digging each other and they start causing some physical friction to happen on ship, which is some of that soap opera stuff we talked about.
Yes, it very much is.
Because that would not be going down in space. All this space boot knocking that they are doing, and really not even like doing a good job in covering it up. Like the whole ship knew they were smashing. And that was like, to me, like it would be one thing if like one or two crew members kind of knew what was happening because they happened to come upon them, but when it's clear that everybody knows, like Danielle would have put a stop to it.
It would have been shut down
It would
immediately.
have been shut down immediately. Like she would have been like, "Okay, you had your fun, knock it off, it's done."
Stop
Like,
it.
Yeah, we are in space. We're about to land on Mars. I don't care how cute you think he is.
Yeah, no.
The last thing you
No.
need to be doing is up here. You know, they are still the enemy in this race, and God forbid you get pregnant. You know, so it's completely irresponsible. Yes, I know she's supposed to be like 19 years old or 20 years old or whatever, but like, still though, you're supposed to be mature enough to go. If you're going up in space, you know this is not the time for all that. So that part, I was just like, come on,
Completely ridiculous.
Yeah, completely ridiculous. So then we get one of the more comical parts of the show where NASA, the ship lands on Mars first. The Russian commander, being the jerk that he is, rushes his spacesuit on and starts to head for the door. Danielle's like, "Oh no, you didn't!"
Where you go?
And she runs after him, and they start fighting on their way out the ship, and they end up technically being the first people on Mars at the same time as they fall into the dust. The news, of course, portrays it as a joint thing, but it definitely wasn't no joint cooperative anything. Danielle was fighting that man to be the first.
Whole way down the ramp.
The whole way down the ramp. She is fighting that man for history. And I knew he was going to do that. And I could just tell. And I was like, Danielle, first of all, one, sister, you're too nice. Because I wouldn't have had a single Russian in a single spacesuit once I landed.
Yeah, none of you will be here without us.
None of you would be here without us. We picked you up. We saved your lives. Sit your butt on this ship while we go be the first people on Mars. Like, why are they in any suits near any airlock? To me, I was like, no, that wouldn't have happened on my watch. Like, forget all that.
If there's a problem, this is a gun.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come on. So, but that scene was extremely comical.
Awesome.
Very funny scene. So we have our first people on Mars are Danielle, and the Russian dude, and they give Danielle the first like top billing essentially, again since it was the American ship, and the Russians wouldn't be there without him. So she's listed first anytime they talk about this historical moment. Not good enough for her, but unfortunately, it's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
The Helios team eventually lands, and we have another big time jump as they are establishing, bases on Mars and such. And we don't have much drama on Mars at this time. Everything's kind of going smoothly.
But oh boy,
back on Earth, the drama's ratcheting it up. President Ellen was miffed at Larry, so she's like, "I'm gonna go back to my side piece then." Okay, well, let me go visit her, with my Secret Service crew in the middle of the night, and be like, "I didn't know you gave me up. I didn't know I didn't know you did that for me," and had a little, heart-to-heart moment with her.
Right, because Larry told Ellen, the president, how her old flame really felt and why she did it. Because she wanted to make that decision for her because she didn't want to have to make that decision. So she opened the door to let her pursue her political career, but she never stopped being in love with her.
Right.
And he spilled those beans on her. So she went with Secret Service to this small town.
Right, like no one's gonna see her.
Right, okay.
And Larry only spilled them beans because he was in trouble. Because he a punk.
Completely in trouble. And she's in trouble now because now you have, your conservative Republican senators who now caught wind of this and are using him and this knowledge that he spilled as leverage to push back on programs and to get done what they want with her.
Yes,
so
there's a particular bill, and I forget what the bill entailed, but they're using this as leverage against her to get this bill passed or for her not to veto it. something on
It
the.
had something. It had something
They want to pull more money out of NASA.
out of NASA.
Yeah, and she wants to protect NASA because obviously that's what vaulted her, and the NASA program obviously is causing so much innovation and technology, and such. But they're upset because the push in technology and the new engines created new energy options. So now coal miners are not.
That's what it was.
Yeah,
It
coal
was
miners aren't working more, and a lot of
space.
the natural oil is down. All that stuff is down because of different, cleaner, more renewable energy sources have been discovered
From the moon and from asteroids and stuff like
from
that.
the moon rocks and all that stuff that's been
Yep.
mining on the moon base and stuff. So they're not happy with that because people are out of work, and keeping the constituents happy is that's supposed to be their job.
Which
So,
again, very meta and very, very real,
yes,
very
very
smart.
very true to life, absolutely. And then we've got our sad sack Baldwin. I mean, sorry, Stevens, who's him and his bad hair are meet a girl and her friends who just I they just looked overly shady. Like I don't
From
understand.
Sean.
Yeah, I don't understand how he got sucked in with them because they dude, you know what you look like. There's no way this girl's there's no way this woman's into you. She is way out of your league.
Hey, but she's way into you, dude, and everything. But they told him, when you tell the lie that the person wants to believe, that's how they hook them.
Yeah.
Their parents, they were this and that. They used your parents, and it was horrible. So that fed into what he was feeling anyway.
Yeah,
So he was
they
like,
definitely
okay.
played to that.
And so that's how they really hooked him.
Yeah, and then they threw the honey pot on top of it to really suck him in and
Oh, they had to, because nobody else is talking to him anyway.
Right. So he's staying with his sister-in-law and the baby, which is also just pathetic. This is really sad that he has to live with his sister-in-law and the baby, that he can't even get his own place. But that's his situation, and he's hanging out with these people who are showing that they are very anti-NASA. They believe that his parents didn't die the way that they actually did, and they think it's a big cover-up. They take him to the statue of his parents, and they end up boosting the statue of his parents, which that made no freaking sense. I was like, where are you going to put this?
What do you? Yeah,
and it's a statue of two people.
yeah.
It's not one person, and it's not a small thing. Like,
how do you hide this?
How do you hide that? Like,
why?
Why? Yeah, why would you hide? I was like, okay, funny. Now put it back. Like,
yeah.
You trying to get me arrested? Like, come on.
You couldn't. You could have just peed on it. Like,
yeah, you could have defaced it like everybody else does the statue.
but no,
you could have tore it down.
Something.
It's a Confederate statue. You could have done that.
Do something. Leave it there.
Yeah, but and first of all, there's no way that they brought that heavy statue on some normal pickup truck. There's no way that pickup truck brought that thing to the house.
You need a flatbed. You need equipment to load it on to the flatbed, which would mean lights and sound. And you're on NASA property, and come on.
Yeah, all the security at freaking. It's on NASA property. All the security there. You're telling me you silently moved this statue onto a pickup truck?
But you know what? We're gonna get back to the security at NASA property.
Oh my God! Yeah, we are. Yeah, you ain't lying. Oh yeah, that's bad. So Karen, and things with Karen and Helios are going well. Helios is a little upset that they and Dev is upset that they were not first onto Mars, but things are progressing, and they start to make a deal with the Russians because the Russians have found a water source in their scans. And Helios has the equipment needed, so they cut a deal, and obviously they're cutting NASA out of this deal. while the drilling is being done on this, Danny and another guy are up on Phoenix, and Danny's supposed to be relieving pressure on the drill, but he is high as a kite, and he's
Mm-hmm.
been getting high, even though Ed has told him to stop it after catching him. Super, pupils super wide, just just tripping on balls. It's
For
crazy. So Ed has already reprimanded him, but he's continued to do it. And Ed's out there with the drill. He doesn't relieve the pressure on the drill. Drill explodes, causes a major problem, and pretty much causes the mountain that they're drilling into to collapse upon itself, causing a small, actually I can't call it small, causing
yeah.
a pretty sizable landslide, essentially, that kills several people and covers up um, the base. Ed and Danny goes out to try to help, and as it's coming down, he and Ed get into one of the shelters, and just in the nick of time, and they end up getting buried under the dirt. So now it is upon the remaining people on Phoenix, and I'm sorry, Danny was not on Phoenix. Obviously, he couldn't have gotten there in time, but he did not honestly relieve the pressure properly. The guy who was with him, that was he had changed shifts. He ends up getting killed,
Mm-hmm.
and they end up putting the blame on him because he was a person previous to Danny taking over that was responsible for relieving the pressure when told, and the blame gets placed on him, in death. And now it's up to NASA to find a way to save the survivors. So NASA and Helios, like on Earth, put their heads together and try to figure out how to save Ed, or find Ed and Danny, and let alone save them. Back on Earth, though, Aleda has been really suspect because she realized that the Russian rockets were previous versions of her design. And so she starts to play Nancy Drew, Super Sleuth, Encyclopedia Brown in it, and she's going through everybody in NASA trying to figure out who's leaking these plans.
And it was well done. The way she was able to backtrack and understand that the only people who would have knowledge of this equipment and her specs would be this person, and this person. And the way she was able to, again, just by process of elimination, figure out, okay, it could be you, tight.
Yeah. And she had that whole board. There was like 15 people on that board. And she had, this one. And
she Bruce Wayne that stuff.
it looked like that board in numbers. And she was just like,
yep.
She had it. She tells Margot about her suspicions, and Margot tells her to let it go. That it's ridiculous. Of course, Margot being the one leaking the plans to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells Alita to let it go. Alita doesn't let it go. And throughout the season, has that beat carried on episode after episode. Alita eliminates another person, and she talks to Margot about it. Margot's like, look, I've told you like 3 times, let it go. Until finally, we almost get to the point where she thinks it's Margot or Bill, and she talks to Bill about it, and Bill's like, it was at Helios, and Bill's like, you're tripping. It wasn't me. So she goes, well, then it's got to be Margot. And he's like, well, then you got to go talk to the FBI.
Yep.
She's like, I'm not going to talk to the FBI. Are you kidding me? Like, I'm here because of Margot took a chance on me. There's no way I'm doing that. Bill decides to be a punk and tells the FBI himself. And they come talk to Aleda. And she's like, oh, I'm not going to cooperate.
You don't have to.
and they're like, you don't got to. Like, we've been told we're going to investigate. You don't got to say anything.
Exactly.
But we are going to investigate. So, Margot gets a heads up from President Ellen about this investigation. So she's really on her toes, but she does not know that Alita has said anything and that she's continuing to investigate. But their focus is on trying to save Ed and Danny. Of course, eventually they do. Um, I
Thanks,
think
thanks to Dev.
thanks to
Dev
Dev,
came up
yes,
with a plan.
great
To
plan
do
by Dev,
Mhm.
who was going through some turmoil because Helios's board is upset with him, and they vote to remove him as CEO and put Karen in as CEO. So Dev is kind of feeling very sorry for himself, but he comes in and he tells them to look at the problem pretty much upside down and gives them the creative solution to find and save and rescue Ed and Danny from under several, like 20, 30 feet of dirt that they would have not found them in. They wouldn't have been found. Um,
I do
so
like
they need some parts
real,
from
real quick though. I
yes,
do like how, like when I said earlier about, I like what Dev ended up being, and I especially like what Dev ended up not being, because when he's that one who's pushing back at saving the Soviets, it's almost like you were painting him into becoming the villain of the season
right,
and becoming like just this more morally corrupt character on certain levels. And it didn't end up being that. He was ambitious and he wanted to see his dreams. And he told you why. You know, he told you the story about his father, all that.
yep,
You understood the why, but when it came down to actually doing something to save people's lives, it was Deb that stepped up and did it. I
yes.
was very happy to
You know,
see that.
I was too because I thought they were going to go with this guy is altruistic and talks the talk, but in reality, he's just as capitalist and corrupt and all for himself as everybody else. And I thought they were going to go that route with Dev, and I'm glad that they didn't.
Very
Yeah,
glad.
yeah, that was great because that trope has been done
Too many
way too
times.
many times. Exactly. Um, so we, so yeah, so thanks to Dev, they realized they need to get a particular part, and the Russians were like, well, we would generally would have that, but of somehow like, oh, it's on Mars, it's in a North Korean um, probe that's landed here before. So Danielle and the Russian commander take one of the land RVs, and they drive off to get this equipment, these parts out of the North Korean uh, probe,
that
and
they
then
need to, that they need to get off planet.
yes, that they need so that they can get off planet because that to that unnecessary canoodling that Kelly Baldwin was doing, she is pregnant
Of course.
and she needs to have this baby off of Mars because the gravity is causing her to have some Braxton Hicks and some preeclampsia.
Mhm.
Is causing, and it's just when you're in, and if anyone doesn't understand how gravity affects your blood and your blood flow and your circulation, the higher gravity will slow your circulation down. And the last thing you need when you're pregnant is low blood pressure. You don't want high blood pressure, but you don't want low blood pressure either because that blood needs to flow through your body, needs to flow to the baby's body, and less blood to the baby is less oxygen to the baby, and that will kill said baby. So they needed to get her up into orbit to Phoenix, and they needed those parts to get the um, Phoenix's little two-person shuttle to launch and get it up to Phoenix. So as they get there, we they Danielle and the Russian commander get there, and they get the parts. They about to get the parts that they need, and all of a sudden, there is a there is a astronaut with a gun pointing at them, and I'm like, what?
What?
What? What is going on? And I'm like, and then we see that he is, and then you see that you look at his arm, and he's got the North Korean flag on his arm. So the last few episodes, we find out that um, this North Korean astronaut is not only on Mars, um, but he got to Mars before everybody else did. North Korea had launched what they told everybody was a probe, but was a two-manned mission to Mars, which has got to be the most asinine thing I can ever think of.
Dumbest.
Two-man mission to Mars?
Single dumbest moment
Oh,
in the history of For All Mankind
like,
happened with
and just with our current political climate, just it was obviously a slap in the face
correct.
to North Korea. To be like, yeah, y'all would be dumb enough to send two people to Mars.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah. And then one of them gets marooned, and and y'all don't even mention it. Y'all ain't even trying to rescue dude. He's
The hell
just,
with him.
yeah, he's just on Mars by himself, eating the same cans of food for how many months? Like, wow, okay.
Losing his mind, listening to the same transmission,
Yeah, listen, same transition, is losing his mind.
pointing a gun at his head every day.
Yeah, for real. Like, just contemplating ending it because he knows no one's coming for him.
But you know what? It was as loon, as just completely loony as that was. Again, the acting and the way that they told his story and portrayed it, you felt for him.
I definitely felt for him.
You really
He was
felt
abandoned. I felt terrible for the guy.
It made no sense that you're there,
Yeah.
but damn, like you really were pulling. Like, oh man, like you felt what he was going through. Like, yeah, man, I feel. And he was just about to end the whole thing, and he's looking at the picture of his
Of his
girl.
family, yeah.
Oh man,
Did you recognize him?
No.
I was looking at him and I'm like, why do I know this dude's face? He played Harry Kim in the early seasons of Chuck. Harry Tang, I mean, he was Harry Tang in early seasons of Chuck.
Man, that's him.
Yeah, I was like, and then because when he shaved, once he got back to the ship, I was like, oh, that's Harry Tang.
Wow.
Okay,
Harry Tang.
yeah, but that beard, I didn't recognize him as much with the beard because he was all scraggly, looking like Matt Damon on Mars, scraggly looking.
Mars. There's about to be a real Martian reference in a second, but yeah.
So Danielle's chuckling because they discovered that she and old Russian boy were the first people.
After all that.
After all that, and now they have to tell NASA, like, yeah, so there's a North Korean here, and they're all like, what?
What?
Okay. And then we have the additional space drama that we have to get Kelly up. We've got the parts. We need to get Kelly up, but there's no way that all 9 people can fit in a 2-person shuttle and launch it into space. And they do the what apparently seems to just now be the space rescue trope, because obviously it happened in Apollo 13. We had to strip all the stuff off the LEM. They did it in The Martian.
The Martian.
Yep. They had to strip all this stuff off to make it lighter. So now they're like, oh, we've got this. Well, what can we strip? What can we take off? What do we not need? Can we remote control this and that? And they're like, there's no way we're going to be able to, yeah, we can do this. We can take that. Can we make it? No, we won't make it. There's 9 people in here can't make it. So they're like, all right, we just have to be resigned to the fact that we're going to be marooned here for years until they send another crew. And that's the Phoenix people, the Helios people, the Russians, and the NASA, the Americans.
And now 1 extra Korean.
And they have 1 extra Korean. Who's probably going to end up like being the chef and like, making the food tolerable or something. Just because they just like to do tropes, apparently. And the plan is to have Kelly go up, and then they're going to remotely guide her to Phoenix. But the problem is there's not enough fuel because of X, Y, and Z. And it's going to be just shy of getting to Phoenix. So the plan is, in this plan, now I'm not sure how scientific it is, but this plan is to essentially strap Kelly to the roof of the car and shoot her up into space, and then have her use her rockets. Oh no, I'm sorry. So she and Ed go up, and then once they get to a particular
to the
point,
apex,
they shoot Kelly off, and she used her rockets in her suit to get her the rest of the way to the ship. So at first, when they were talking about this plan, I'm thinking, okay, she's going to be inside with Ed. They're going to get to a certain point. He's going to push her out, and then she's going to rocket away. But no. They strap her to the roof. I'm like, first of all, you telling me she's not going to burn up? Like, she's going to burn up trying to get out. Like, there's no way her body would survive exiting the atmosphere.
It was the same premise as the Martian. The fact that Mars' atmosphere is so thin that it would only cause a certain amount of friction on the. It still didn't make any sense. There'd be enough G's where it would kill her.
It would have killed her.
Even if, at this point, much like the Martian, the premise behind the launch, strip the weight to get it off the ground and get it into orbit or even suborbital, made a lot of sense.
Yes,
that part. You get up there and she's supposed to now use like an EVA to go. She's dead.
She's dead. First of all, if she's not dead, that baby's dead.
Everything's dead.
Yeah.
Even if you make it, you're in such. You're maimed. You're crippled. It's almost it's the same thing as like whenever you see, as much as I love Top Gun Maverick, all of these fighter jet movies and everyone, just eject. When you eject out of a plane and your body hits that slipstream, broken ribs, broken arms, broken bones, blood vessels.
Yeah, your eyes, your blood cells are all going to pop in your eyes automatically.
You're not landing. You're not okay.
No.
So
why people don't eject unless they have to, like because you have to. Rough ride.
It's probably going to kill you. It could kill.
You're not going to land like Will Smith and then start beating up aliens and walking and running. Like you're not going to be all big and bad after you eject. You're laying there in pain, holding yourself like.
And there's no condition. There's no baby after that.
No, that baby's gone.
But she's dead.
Yeah, she's dead. So now. Yeah, because the Martian was terrible too. Because like you expected me to believe that this tarp is going to do something against the vacuum of space. That didn't sell.
Wait, it didn't because they had the tarp come off.
Exactly. So Kelly's strapped to the top of the car essentially, and the tarp. That's nonsense. But it makes for great cinema. It makes for great television. So for great television, Kelly survived.
Ed might die again because if he goes over the fuel threshold and he had to push it, they go a little bit over, then he's gonna crash.
Yeah, but you know what? Here's why I'm 4.5 because Ed is at the point where I don't believe they kill him. He is now untouchable. He is the Robinsons in Lost in Space. Nothing can kill him.
Ed's gonna survive. Okay.
Yeah, and he's at that point now. Especially
Ed will die in the series finale.
I mean, if he doesn't, he's got to. I mean, he got gimped in episode 1. He gets gimped on Polaris / Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
He's buried alive. He's locked out of his ship. He's And he goes up, and then somehow he doesn't have the fuel.
And he was mortally wounded.
And he was mortally wounded. Yeah, and he was mortally wounded.
Okay, but I'll say this: there was a period while he was wounded, and Danny was caring for him. I thought there was a moment where he was going to murk Ed. I did. There was that moment because remember that they had that conversation before they even landed about Karen's affair, and he was saying all the things that Danny and his sick brain, if I ever met him, I'll kill that
kill him,
and that's now in Danny's head. There was a moment where I'm like, yo, he might really kill him.
Yeah, I thought he might do it too. Yeah, I was thinking it.
Like, yo, this might be it. Like, he might do this
because he was coming off the drugs too.
He didn't switch the pressure.
Yeah, and he was coming off the high
as hell.
Yeah. He was messed up. So I was like, I thought he was going to try to kill Ed. And I thought Ed's going to have to like kill him, and then he's going to be laying there, and like they're both going to die because I think Ed's going to have to fight him, and he's going to kill him, and then Ed has no help, and then he's just going to eventually bleed out or go to septic because of the because of the wound.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well,
So Ed had that mortal wound and then didn't die. And he
right
was
about that
walking.
part.
He was walking real quick after that,
He
too.
was walking. It's Ed.
Yeah, I was like, did Dr. McCoy come and just fix him up right quick? Like, did somebody put a Kamoyo bead up in that hole and just zap it shut? Like, what is going on?
Yeah, Shuri.
Shuri came through and swung by and fixed him up with some vibranium, and that man was walking around. Like 2 days after, he pretty much gets shot, and he's walking around.
Wait, hold up. See, we know that the comics, the Wakandans have been on the moon since like 1850.
Right.
So it would, you know what?
They flew by that Wakandan base. They're like, "Hey, yo, we got a hurt man."
Yeah, right by Korea, the Korean capsule. There was a barbecue.
There was 50 black folk be like, "Hey, what's happening?"
There was a lot of black people.
They had no suits on. They just had this vibranium stuff going on.
You know what? I wouldn't mind.
No, I would have loved it. That'd have been great. And they were like,
I watched that show.
And they're like, Danielle be like, when we got when we saw the news Korean, I heard drums. It reminded me of home.
Like
so reverberated. Like, I don't know.
You stop smoking, Danielle, all that, and stop. We don't allow all that. Stop that. That's too much black.
It's too much black. Yeah, she made the wrong crowd for too long.
Yeah, you know what?
Oh man. So
you are relieved of command.
Right. So back on Earth, President Ellen decides to fall on her sword, which I was shocked about. And declares to the world that
you can't forget about the brother.
No, I'm not going to forget about the brother. I'm not going to forget about that. So President Ellen falls on her sword and tells the world that she is a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, the press goes absolutely buck wild. Larry is shocked because she didn't out him. She outed herself. And
took the hit.
It took the hit. And then, of course, her girlfriend is watching the news and is like, "Oh, she did that for me." And I don't know what they're going to do with that situation because even in that timeline, it's not like she's going to become the first wife. I don't even know what they're going to do with that.
No. She basically did a political bunny rabbit.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Where before y'all do anything to me, I'm going to say everything about myself. Do this.
And politically, it's the smart move.
Yep.
She had no moves left.
No.
And the only move is to go with the truth and hope that you can leverage it to either either finish her term or then use it to switch parties and try to remain as the incumbent, but going on, a different ticket. So politically, it was the move and her best move to make. So, back on Mars, Ed somehow miraculously, without enough fuel, lands because he's Ed the Untouchable. He cannot die.
He's Ed now. Right.
And everyone they're happy because Kelly's on Phoenix. She gives birth to the baby. Like immediately after she gets there, she gives birth to the baby. And the baby's fine. She's fine. We've got our first baby born in space. Now, I feel bad for this baby. And this baby's going... First of all, the baby has... What rights does this baby have? Because it wasn't born on American soil, even though it was born to an American.
Good point.
The father is Russian. And he was born in space. So we can't even call it the first Martian baby. We can't... It's the first space baby. It's not... Because the father's Russian... and it wasn't born on American soil or anything or any land that's been claimed by the United States of America, it's not going to have the rights as an American citizen. So this baby is going to have a rough life.
This baby should have so many physical disabilities and deficiencies from where and how it was born that naturalization should be the least of its
worries, right? This baby's going to have some blood issues. It's going to be on meds from day one to make sure it gets enough blood pumping through his body. It's going to have issues.
That was the fastest labor in human history.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And you know, that weakened gravity in Martian orbit pushed it out quicker, so there was no pain, no labor.
Right? Yeah, she looked really good for being in labor and pushing that child out. That was a little too easy.
After launching on the rocket, on the roof of a rocket from Mars.
But you know what? If somehow you survive being launched on the roof of a rocket, you ain't feeling nothing after that.
Yeah, if you survive all that, then there's a school in Westchester, New York that
that a bald man wants to talk to you about.
yeah, you need to.
Bald man in their floating yellow wheelchair wants to talk to you about his school.
And there's something special under that basketball court because y'all.
You ain't lying. So the biggest shock of this season
Oh boy.
happens here at the end. So Jimmy's shady little friends have been getting him to go into NASA and show them around and just tell them things and show them things and confide in him and do things he shouldn't do, like stealing people's security badges. And while he's there, he realizes that these people, that not only are they shady, but they have a van with a massive bomb parked amongst all these news vans that are dealing with the news of what's going on on Mars. Jimmy wants to do the right thing. He goes, he finds Karen, he shows her. Karen starts to try to clear people away.
All these security guards and all these personnel, you go run to find Karen.
Jimmy's so stupid. Like, how is he Gordo and Tracy's kid? Like, he is so stupid. Like, did all of the hero just go to them and Danny? Like, he got nothing of any type of instinct, nothing.
Yeah, we got nothing.
Oh, like, granted, I don't know how bombs work. I've never built a bomb. I only bomb defusal I've ever seen is in movies, so I know not to believe it. But I would have tackled him. Like, you see the cell phone, so you obviously on it. You know the cell phone's got to be the trigger. So it's like, you're gonna go tell Karen, or are you gonna be like, are you gonna try to be like maybe slick, maybe they're like, hey, dude, let me can I borrow your phone? I want to call old girl, talk to her, whatever, because my phone broke. Like, drop your phone, step on it, and be like, hey, my phone broke. Can I use yours real quick? Then run away, like something with some type of ingenuity.
Something with some type of panic or haste or something. You don't have time to go into the building to find Karen.
Yeah.
You go. There's security all outside with the vans and you scream. You do something with some urgency. Yeah. You don't go find Karen.
No, you go. You walk around the front and you see if the keys are in the ignition. If they are, you jump in and you just try to drive away. You do something.
You know how long it would take for you to find Karen?
For real. And what's Karen supposed to do?
Yeah.
She's not security. She ain't got no gun.
No, go to security.
Yeah. What is she supposed to do?
You are now at the point where this show loses all of the points that I took off of this season and this show were in the last 20 minutes of this episode. It's all right here. Everything you're talking about right here is
because between Miracle Launch, Miracle Baby, and Jimmy here discovering the bomb, it's just like this is asinine. This is like general hospital level ridiculous.
That's where it went too soap opera. That's where it went off the rails. Yes. When that bomb exploded, I was just like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
Yes, and the bomb goes. Now, first of all, again, I'm no bomb expert, but that bomb did a whole lot of damage for not looking for the position. It looked like they had a lot of, explosive or something in there, but for where it was to how far wide of damage it supposedly did, I was like,
no, it wasn't enough. Like
I mean,
this was a direct parallel again, and this is one thing that I'll criticize this show on that it didn't really do until this season. And I was just having this conversation with my wife earlier when we were talking about the podcast, is this was supposed to, because what they were starting to do this season, which they only really did once before in this Elseworld, is they started to touch on things that were going on in that time period that happened here.
Right.
So you had the Don't Ask, Don't Tell with the brother coming out on Mars.
Yes, I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
You had the sex scandal in the White House that was going on with the Clintons. And in this, you had the Oklahoma City bombing.
Well, I actually equated this to the World Trade Center bombing because it was in the van.
Same time period, but it was
Same
a van.
time period, yeah.
It was a van with the Oklahoma City bombing as well as
That's right.
the damage and those mass casualties.
Yeah.
I do not like when you take your Elseworld and you start tying things into like other world where it's all happening. I don't like that at all because you lose so much of your story trying to shoehorn this in. The only explosives, and don't ask me how I know this, the only explosives that would be able to cause that much damage in a device that small in that van would have had to have been packed with fertilizer,
Yes.
with something like, I mean, to the gills.
Yeah, to the gills, and that was my thing because there was only it was when you see Jimmy looking at it, it's not at the back of the van. It's like halfway. It's like in the middle. So
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no way that this bomb
No
is
way
that
to cost
big.
that much. It would have to be like Semtex. It would have to be like weapons, military grade explosive.
Well,
that would
from
cost something like
the
that.
only military grade explosive that I'm familiar with, and I will say this because my father's friend used to work for the CIA and he handled C4 and he explained how it works. C4, you could have had that thing halfway full of C4 and it's not going to cause that damage that they should.
Semtex and C4.
Semtex and C4 are very similar as far as stable plastic explosives.
It would
and
need
that wouldn't have done that.
No, it was all that was over the top completely. But again, you had to do something to somewhat mirror Oklahoma City,
Right.
which is what I didn't like at all. Because now at this point, there's too much going on with everyone
and happening at the same time.
At the same time.
So no one knows if Ed's surviving because he's coming down with no fuel, and now this bomb goes off with Karen right in front of it at the same time. And it's like
same time.
It's like, come on. I mean, and again, like Interstellar, Matt Damon and Matthew McConaughey are fighting, on the plane at the same time as Topher Grace and Lesser Affleck are fighting back on Earth at the exact same time. Like
the exact same.
Like, come on. Like,
and it's the only time where this show has really done this. Can't forget about also with Margot and Sergei, how she's been compromised by the Soviets because they know and they were using him the whole time. Yeah. And now he's under threat of death. She's working with the State Department to get his family out, but she's basically looks like she's going to go jail, and she's basically going to sit in her office and end it, and she's looking forward to going to prison, and the Soviets offer to help her. And all this is going on at the exact same time.
Now, they really tried to, and because so then of course we know Ed's not dead because he comes. No. We know they can't. So when I knew Ed wasn't going to die because of all the all the close calls. So when Jimmy's going to the rubble, and I'm like, they killed Karen. I was like, they killed Karen. And they knew they wouldn't kill. I knew she was going to be the one to die because they were doing such a good job. And I forgot to mention this earlier. Throughout the season, or when they were on the ship, people would leave. They would have recorded calls back and forth.
Right.
And Jimmy hacked into Ed's call, so he's watching what Karen and him are saying back and forth to each other because of his obsession with Karen. And because of that, he believes that they're going to get back together because the warmness and the friendliness continue to grow through message to message. They're talking about how proud they are of each other, how they can't wait she can't wait till he gets back. And, Danny ain't trying to have that. So once the die was cast that when Ed gets back, they're going to get back together, I knew she was dead. Like,
knew she was going to die.
I knew it was over. And because I knew she was dead.
Home, make sure you both come home.
Right.
You knew that, okay, you know what? You're going to die.
Yeah. And then that was the whole thing is her wish of Kelly and Ed coming home is going to be true because they're both going to come home, but she's not there for them. So I knew she was going to go. And then because I knew she was going to go, I didn't believe when they showed the half of the building being gone, when Alita opens Margot's office and half of Margot's office is gone, and I was like, oh, they're gonna act like Margot's dead, but I didn't see anything to make me believe that Margot was gone.
No, but having Margot ending up years later in the Soviet Union, it's like, okay, what now? She's Batman. Like, so now,
Well, Margot might be Batman. You never know.
for
I might
real,
see him in the same room together. I
no,
don't know.
Margot's either Batman or Treadstone because somehow she was able to not only survive the explosion, which took out half of her office, she was able to leave that site, leave the country, and end up in the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Okay.
Yeah. Well, see, I think they're going to, if they try to make any sense of this, they're going to show that she somehow left her office before the explosion, and then the confusion of the
Right.
explosion. Some Soviet whisked her away.
Yeah, right. From
to the USSR.
from a
But
bomb zone in NASA, because basically there was a statue head of like Alan Shepard, and she twists the head, and the bookshelf opens,
Right.
and the tube it leaks under.
God.
Like,
That's great. No, that's what I need to see. I need to see is like old school Batman. She lifts the head, and she flicks the button on the neck. She slides down the bat pole to
exactly.
Russian safety, and there's a
Yep.
sub waiting for her to
Big
take her.
red star on it. There's an underground river,
And inside the sub is Sean Connery, and they start singing like in Hunt for Red October as they home to
we
Russia.
sail into history. We start
Oh
singing
my
Russian national anthem right before the caterpillar kicks in, and she
Right.
disappears, and she ends up. That was so completely asinine.
Yes.
That again, all of these are the reasons why this season just got lowered to this point for me, because all of it was ridiculous. It was all happening at the same time. Then you kill Molly because she's out there rescuing everyone in her blindness, which don't kill her like that. Give me a good death after everything she's been through, the radiation, losing her eyesight, this and that. I don't want to. Don't kill her off screen. Don't do that.
Yeah, killing Molly off screen that made no sense either.
No.
And I think honestly they killed her off because they didn't know what to do with her anymore. I really
There's
think that's
nowhere
what
else to
happened
go.
with the character.
Yeah. But yeah, I understand the reason. Just execute it better.
Yeah, because like they rarely used her in this series at all. So,
Because once she was blind, no disrespect whatsoever, but there was only so much that they could do. She was basically grounded, and have her be the one. And she gave Karen the advice, this and that,
yep,
and that's fine. But you can only go to that well so many times.
exactly. And
But
and it became very repetitive
very
of that well, because like even with her going to Molly's husband, and getting high with him and getting advice, it's like, okay, why we already had 2 seasons of this.
yeah,
Are we really going to go back to this again for more?
right.
She could have talked to Sean Patrick Thomas. That'd have been, like, hey, why don't you
Sure.
talk to him or talk to somebody else? Like,
Find somebody, do something.
yeah, do something outside the norm of what you've done before. But yeah, so Molly going, I kind of foresaw that happening too. But yeah, everybody being taken out, with that just ridiculously sized blast. You got, what? And here's the thing: they always showed the 3 people, the chick, the beard dude, and the other really ugly dude. They always showed those 3 when they were, pulling their grift, I guess, on Jimmy. It would have made more sense if each of them had a van
Yes.
that exploded.
They
But
all
you only showed me one van bomb. If there was 3 of them, I would have believed it, and it would have made sense because you constantly showed the 3 of them there, seducing him into this, this terroristic act.
more than one explosion.
Yes, exactly. So if you've got Sonny and the other 2, I forget what their names are, But if you've got Sonny in one van and the other two in the others, then I will and then my suspension of disbelief is fine,
Would
and
work.
I'll accept the
'Cause
massive explosion then.
that bomb would have taken out the lobby.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. It's not taking out half the building.
The whole building.
I'm just thinking like, look, I wasn't no whiz in science class, but
No, you all right. Trust me.
But I was like, there's no way it's gonna go like that. Building is massive. There's no way the blast is gonna go that high and cause that much damage. Like what?
They took out half
What?
of the Johnson Space Center. Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
like So
That and again, it was a great season.
just
That for
that
me,
ending.
the
That-
ending was
the
just
last. I'll say the last 3 episodes just continued to go over the top more with because the Korean was only in the last 3 episodes. So once they threw him in there, I was like, okay, this is improbable. And then they kept on going with the pregnancy. This is even more improbable. And then the bomb. I was like, okay, we've just gone somewhere. I don't know where we've gone, but we've really taken off. Where we took off to Venus or we took off to Jupiter. We're really going far now.
That's where we're going. Yeah, we're going to Saturn next.
Yeah,
the Margot thing worked for me until the very end. The position she found herself in worked for me until the very end because I thought that was going to resolve itself by her going to jail until that bomb went off, and then
I didn't think she was going to go to jail. My thought was she was going to just go back to a simple life. I thought she was going to slip away, and that she was just going to be hiding away on some. I thought Ellen was pretty much going to bail her out. She was going to just be hiding away on some farm, like when she was a kid, just back into a simple life.
But Ellen could bear her with a pardon, like. That's it. Because if you get,
I thought Ellen was just going to whisk her away, like not even like officially mentioned. Like I thought she was just going to be like, "Look, I don't know where you are. You go and you hide out in like Montana, Wyoming, somewhere where no one's looking, and you go do that. And I don't know where you are,
dog. If you give away top secret information concerning ballistic missile technology to the Soviets, they will find you. Like
they're not going to stop looking for you. Yeah, I mean,
they're gonna find you. Like
that's true. Yeah,
I no,
and find you and shoot you.
Yeah, they're gonna find you. Like you're not being whisked away. You're not getting away. Like unless your name, basically, even if you had those documents, unless your name was Trump, you're going to jail immediately.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I just saw the only way I saw where it made sense is okay. She's going to take the hit for Sergey. She took that phone call. His family was safe. Which again, here we go with this.
But you're right because realistically, there's no way that happens. And honestly, and I think they also did it because it's like, hey, we'll save your life. You cost us Sergey, so now you'll work for us. You'll build our rockets.
Yeah.
Because now they don't have Sergey because Sergey's in the States now.
That's what it's going to end up being.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where you go with that because there's no way to see now. The only way to get her out of that is some kind of deep cover extraction thing where we go in and rescue Margot from the Russian. But no.
So what's going to happen is we're going to get Ed and Danny and the Korean, and he's going to lead them behind enemy lines, and then somehow Ed and Danny are going to rescue Margot.
But from space on the way back.
Yeah, on the way back.
Yeah. They're going to land, and then they're going to rescue Margot and then commandeer and steal another spaceship and then take that spaceship into orbit and then land at Kennedy at Port
Canaveral. No, it's not going to land at Kennedy. See, what happens after they go land in Russia and rescue Margot, they're going to take her to Mars with them because there's no extradition from Mars.
Right.
And you can't extradite from Mars. So they're going to take her there and she can live on the Mars base.
That's true. That's the move.
Yeah, that's the move. Can you imagine trying to extradite from Mars? That's going to take forever.
It'll take too long.
Yeah,
by the time you get there, you probably can't land anyway or find it.
Because Mars was like, oh, we're going to have another one of these 6 to 8 weeks
we don't
going on.
Like either. So, no, you can't land either. No. I love there was so much that was dope.
Yes.
But that ending, And just the way that wall just snowballed, like you said, in those last few episodes, was just like, all right, this is too much. If you take out half of those storylines, it's fine, but you gotta lose half of them. It can't be all of this happening to everyone at the same time.
And the concurrence and the congruence of it all is just what made it so ridiculous.
Yeah, it was silly.
Like, that was nuts. So
Your show is too smart to be silly.
exactly, I couldn't have said it better myself. So, listeners, that concludes our review of For All Mankind Season 3. I hope you enjoyed it. And I would love to know what you think of this show, especially this season, if you've seen it. Comment on either the official post of this or leave a comment on Spotify, your podcasting app of choice. We would love to know your thoughts on this season and your ranking. Where do you rank this out of 6? And that also not only concludes the review, that is going to conclude this episode. I've had my man on for too long. He's been gracious with his time. So, again, I am your host, Rocky Mr. Magic. This is the original Jeek Podcast, and we want to thank you for listening. And we could not do this show not without you who continue to support us by rating and reviewing the show on your app of choice. Again, we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, CastBox, and more. And if you can't find us, let us know at jeeknation@gmail.com or message us on Facebook at jeeknation. And until next time, peace.
Ready to make an entrance, so backward cut. Come on, cut for me.
Oh, yeah. Whoa, slow down. Whoa, speed up.
This is DJ What, and you're listening to the original Jeek Podcast.